Howdy, howdy, howdy. Welcome back to MCubed. I am Harris, as always, and welcome to Movie Tuesdays. Movie Tuesdays are, of course, the day where we kind of discuss the box office of the past weekend. We talk about what's coming out this week. I talk about the films I saw this past weekend and then a little bit of yesterday, too. And yeah, that's what Movie Tuesday is. So thank you for coming, and let's jump right in. So this past weekend was very interesting for the box office. It was a decent weekend overall. Everything made decent money. I think there were multiple things like above the tens of millions. So like where we have been, quote unquote, for the past year, two, this was a good weekend. But for the films that came out this weekend, it was not necessarily the greatest of weekends. So The Flash and Elemental, and I don't think The Blackening came out this weekend. It might have came out the weekend before. Howdy, Shelly, what's happening? But Elemental and The Flash definitely came out this past weekend. I think Elemental, I think Blackening's 2 weeks old now. Don't quote me on that one, but we can double check here in a second. And both of those movies, being Pixar, Elemental, and Warner Brothers Discovery / DC for Flash, are costly movies. I believe Flash is reported at being $220 million. I think it's probably going to end up being a little bit more in what they spent on that. And then I believe Elemental was $200 million. And neither one of them look like they are on track to reach those budgets back. Plus marketing on top of that. Ooh, it doesn't look pretty. So let's go ahead and dive in. I think I got the old Twitter set up right here. So let me share my screen to Twitter and we will scroll through the old tweeters. Let's see how it looks real quick. There you go. I'm just checking how I look on screen with this. No. We don't need me that big. Don't need me that big. Let's go back to, how was it? This? Yeah. I do kind of like that too. And I could expand this. Let me do a little expansion here. Up a little bit. There we go. That is gonna, no, that shouldn't cut off anything. We'll be good. That's not expanding my person on there at all. See, okay. Discard changes. We'll keep it as is. We'll keep it as is, y'all. All right, well, we're going through Twitter right here. Oh, howdy, David. What's happening? Let's look at the box office of this past weekend, you know? So, right here. This was all, oh, wow. They only have one thing from yesterday? That's crazy. So, Box Office Mojo says The Flash earned $55.1 million. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, 29.5. Oh, wait. And Elemental, 29.5. And Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I was like, hold up. Oh, when is that? Oh, Jamie is texting. Maybe Jamie. We'll see. We'll see if Jamie can hop in or not. But, so, I thought this Box Office Mojo would do us a little better. I had it set up. Let's check Box Office Pro. Actually, let's do Exhibitor Relations real quick. These guys are great. Ooh, something to watch this upcoming weekend. 3 films scored roughly $6 million on Monday. Flash, Elemental, and Spider-Man, which is wild because Spider-Man is now in its 3rd week, and it is still making bank. What will be the number one across the multiplex multiverse next week? Ooh. What are y'all thinking? Just before we dive into everything that we usually dive into, looking at this question itself, contemplating what will be the number one across the multiplex of multiverses of, well, I don't know, all the theaters across the country and in the world next week. What do you think will do best? Because there is 2 new movies coming out this weekend, or there are 2 new movies coming out this weekend, and that would be No Hard Feelings, which I saw a sneak preview of this past weekend, and Asteroid City, which there have been previews of. They just haven't been that close to me, so I haven't been able to check it out. I hope to check it out when I'm in Texas this weekend. So fingers crossed on that. But looking at these 3, David and Shelly, well, I got you here. And anybody in the comments later on, of course, y'all let us know too. But what are y'all thinking? Do you think Elemental, The Flash, or Spider-Man is going to do better this coming weekend? Because Elemental and The Flash are fresher and newer in the minds and in the eyes of audiences. But ooh, they are not making much money. And I want to say almost made half of what. Yeah, because Spider-Verse made how much coming out of the opening weekend? I think they almost made like half of what Spider-Verse made opening weekend, and Spider-Verse is still like truly kind of dominating, and rightfully so, of course, but it's dominating nonetheless. Okay, so domestic opening of 120 million. Literally, The Flash made less than what Spider-Verse made in its opening weekend by half, which is insane. Spider-Man. Okay, David, I'm with you. That's what I think I'm going to choose. I'm with Spider-Man. Shelly says don't ask her. We're just guesstimating, but I'm kind of with David here. I think Spider-Man's probably the thing that's going to have the longest legs. Flash, I saw a funny joke about it on Twitter earlier. Someone said, hey, literally, it's the next tweet. This is where I saw it 2 hours ago. Remember those Flash estimates of 64 million? Try 61 million. Warner Brothers just updated their 4-day forecast. It's not often a studio misses by $3 million. And if a studio does miss, it's usually because they underestimated, not overestimated. This is a serious red flag, a warning. Flash legs may only exist in another universe. And just while we're on that topic, real quick, Daniel Rickman tweeted earlier today. Yeah, this is it. So let's see. Warner Brothers spent $220 million on Flash. So by Hollywood rules, it has to make $440 million to break even. You usually want to double it. It's going to make $300 million worldwide total, if not less. But let's go with that number. That's $140 million lost. Now you add the $100 million cost in marketing. That's $240 million loss for the Flash. And it looks like the budget for the Flash was actually the marketing budget, was 150, not 100. So where that's a 240, that's a $290 million loss. If it even gets to $300 million, that's really setting Flash at losing upwards of $300 plus million. That's almost $250 million. That is a lot of freaking money that the Flash has lost. And honestly, Elemental is not that far behind it. It's not going to lose that type of money. But what if we're really saying that we're doubling the budget? Elemental had a $200 million budget and needs to make $400 million. It probably had 150 million. It's probably not far off from the Flash, realistically. And it's a good movie. I think out of the movies that are out right now, Elemental has the most heart of them all. It has the most coherent storyline of them all. Not of them all. Spider-Verse, I guess. I'm thinking about the things that came out this weekend. So I'm just talking about Flash and Elemental. Out of those two, it definitely has the upper hand, I think. And it doesn't have that much of an upper hand. We can hop back in this in a second. Let's do this whole thing. Yeah, we'll do that. What are y'all thinking? Have y'all seen any of these films? Do y'all have any particular opinions about these films and where they will go? Obviously, Spider-Man is the one with the legs right now out of those three. It's going to hold better, not just in the U.S., but as a film across the globe. And I feel like Flash might do decently outside of the U.S. The U.S., I think a lot of people are literally not going on purpose, boycotting it, and rightfully so in a lot of ways. Curiosity kills the cat for me, so I have to go see it at least once, but that's all the money I'm going to give Ezra Miller right now, even though Matt and I have talked about it. And yes, Ezra Miller's been paid, so it's not like they're really taking a whole bunch of extra cash after the fact. So that's not really my holdup. I just don't like the way Warner Brothers has kind of approached marketing all this, and it's kind of made it feel kind of like a big old nothing burger, while trying to be really cool at the same time. And I just don't know where to gauge it. And I don't think most of the audience of films knows where to gauge it either. And that's just without the controversy of things. I tweeted earlier, John Campy always used to say on his show, they should rename this thing Batman Flashpoint, add a little more Batman, and kind of rope it around to something that intrigues the general moviegoer more. The Flash isn't like one of the big comic book heroes. Like he has a 9-season show right now. Yeah, that might be the longest show of Arrow technically, but look at those viewing numbers. Those viewing numbers are bad. There's a reason the CW has never had a year that they've made money, which shows you that their viewing numbers aren't all that high. Arrowverse was kind of always one of the higher things that they had, but Flash never hit the numbers enough to make money at all. Not even for their own show, much less the whole network. And yes, he might be a character that's beloved and decades old, but it wasn't going to make money. What's cooking? Good looking. Howdy, Matt. How you doing, brother? I was just quoting you a second ago. Just because we're talking a little Flash again. We're talking a little Spidey. We're talking a little Elemental. I did go see The Blackening last night, so I do want to talk about that for a little bit. And I saw No Hard Feelings this past weekend, so I will hit on that for a little bit because No Hard Feelings comes out this weekend, and then the only other movie coming out this weekend, I believe, in a wide release is. Hold up, I can actually share my screen and we can figure that part out. I believe the only other one is Asteroid City, though. Wes Anderson's newest film. And I love me some Wes Anderson. So, yeah. Let me check how this looks on the screen. Perfect. No Hard Feelings and Asteroid City are the only two wide releases coming out this weekend. So, be prepared for those because I love me some Wes Anderson. I hear this one's his most... not necessarily iffy. I don't necessarily think iffy is probably the right way to say it, but like, and questionable is not the right term either, but it's looking like, just according to reviews and the way people have been saying things since they've seen Asteroid City in these early releases, they said it's not necessarily coherent. And I think part of that is due to it being a play within a film within a film. Howdy, Jamie. He's
Howdy, sir.
Booyah. We're talking a little Asteroid City. Do you have any interest in that movie at all? Have you seen any previews?
I've seen a few, obviously Tom Hanks, blah, blah, blah. I was talking to one guy about it who saw a preview about a month ago, and he reckons it's properly funny. Is it Wes Craven?
Wes Anderson.
Wes Anderson, sorry. I remember thinking at the time, Wes Craven? And Wes Anderson, sorry, yeah. But apparently it's very funny. Apparently it's like, he told me, you won't know about this, but Red Dwarf, he says it's that type of humor. So I imagine boob jokes, willy jokes, just genuine silliness, I imagine. So
have you seen other Wes Anderson films, huh?
Throw out names at me because I generally thought it was
Royal Tenenbaums, Grand Budapest Hotel.
Yes, in that case, it's going to be subtle slapstick almost humor.
Yeah, so it might have jokes like that, but they're going to be like tasteful and like artistic in a way.
Red Dwarf wasn't any of those things.
No, but
a Red Dwarf episode started with the two main characters lying on their bunk watching telly, and they were watching the Flintstones. And it says, I think we might have been alone in space too long, but I really, really fancy Betty. And she said, but what about Wilma? I'd go with Wilma, but I'd be thinking about Betty. That's how the episode starts.
That's perfect. That I could be in a little Asteroid City. So I'm intrigued by it because it's supposed to be a play within a movie, within like actual scenarios going on, and then they realize they're in a movie in a way, I guess.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of, I guess, movieception going on.
Silliness. But no, I think I'm interested. I'm interested. I think it's going to look good.
Would you see that one, or would you see No Hard Feelings first out of the new movies this weekend?
I do like the look of No Hard Feelings. It's not normally the sort of thing I'd go out of my way to watch. Okay. But I think I'll be watching Asteroid City first just because this is a sci-fi channel. And it's... How often do we get a sci-fi comedy come out?
Not anymore, ever. Like,
So I think it's worth a look. And anything with Tom Hanks in generally is worth a look.
Yeah, I've fallen out of love with him recently, but A Man Called Otto got me excited enough to do this one. So,
well, in real life, I think he might be going a little senile, but a touch,
just a tad,
interviews and things. And I'm watching. Going, what are you talking about, Tom? What are you talking about, Tom? This is what my studio looks like, by the way, without the green screen.
Oh, it's quite beautiful.
Clothes drying, an massive ironing pile, and great British rowers,
of course,
rugby players. Okay.
Well, it's necessary. If only I had my rugby shirt on, But
yeah,
wasn't prepared. But sidetracking.
You got the Sidetrack shirt though, so excellent. Tell you what, mate. Let me just share the video over across. You talk to yourself for a second.
Do it. Love me some Hanks. Shelley does love herself some Hanks. I know that. We talked about that in January a lot, I think, or February too. Yeah, Tom Hanks is. I mean, there's no doubt about it. The guy is an amazing actor. Love some Tom Hanks films, but in the last couple of years, and then I don't know what to believe with all the Epstein stuff, and I don't want to dive into all that, but his name was like on the top of all that list, so that's just made me a little hesitant, in general.
Are we not calling Epstein a pedophile? Sorry.
Oh no, totally. And Tom Hanks is like at the top of that list to go into the island. So I don't know exactly what to think about all that.
But so is everybody else.
That's the thing. Yeah, Spielberg was on
here. President that was one of his best mates who could say that Harvey Epstein's a lovely guy. He loves lots of young girls that really love him. And then you guys voted him in as president. So
hey, I was not alive during that time period. I was born at the very tail end of that time period. I cannot take any responsibility for that one.
No, that's fair enough, mate. Hey, you might get in again yet, so you can take responsibility for that one.
Oh God, I can't take responsibility for any of them. I don't like voting anymore. I used to be all gung ho about it, but that's a whole different topic. We can go into that a whole different day.
Why not?
But Asteroid City looks good. I'm excited for it. I think it has a lot of Wes Anderson stuff in it, and I love me some Wes Anderson-esque things. Have you? I think we've mentioned it. Have you seen those like TikToks going around about like Wes Anderson done in the style of Lord of the Rings, or Lord of the Rings done in the style of Wes Anderson? This done in the style of Wes Anderson.
Yeah, all very neat. A few months ago. Yeah.
Oh, it's funny as hell.
The thing that I like about him is every film he does, you can tell it's an Anderson film, but it's sort of like he does like to play with styles. He likes to play with things. There's no formula to his movies. I like that. So I'm interested to see what he comes up with.
The epitome of a lack of formula. I don't know if you saw the French Dispatch or not. The last one, it felt almost. It was very Wes Anderson, but it almost felt Tarantino in a way because there was literally, you know how Kill Bill has the entire like anime section. There was the most expensive part of the movie for French Dispatch. He was just like, screw it, we're gonna do it animated. And he did like a 15-20 minute like scene, all animated. Maybe not that long, but it was a long, what would have been a very expensive scene, completely animated, and it was great. It was great.
I do enjoy it when filmmakers mess around with things. I used to like things like the old comedies, like the Mel Brooks comedies.
Oh yeah.
I was so disappointed when I found out the end of Blazing Saddles was done like that because they literally ran out of money. I was just like, I wish that was actually supposed to be the end of the film because it was just genius. But actually, it just turned out that they ran out of money and they were like, "We've got to shut down tomorrow." So I'm like, right, we'll just run through the set. we'll just film it and that'll be the end of the film. And I was just like, oh, because it's one of the greatest endings to a movie like ever.
It's so good. Mel Brooks is a freaking genius. Him and Gene Wilder together just was perfect. I
miss Gene Wilder. I say when they do things like when they remade. I mean, I'm a big Johnny Depp fan, but when they remade Charlie Chocolate Factory, I'm just like, but Gene Wilder nailed it. Why would you even? If I was Johnny Depp, I'd be like, I'm not touching that with a freaking barge pole.
No, or Tim Burton, either one.
Yeah. It's just like we can't do better than that. Just do like just watch any of the songs. You know, it's just like you can go right. You can't do better than that.
No,
don't try.
And okay, I do like the Johnny Depp Willy Wonka, but it does hurt me every time because I'm in my mid-20s, so I grew up literally like that movie came out when I was like young, super young, and it was like, I went to the theaters to see it like all people my age went to the theaters to see it. There are people my age nowadays that love it over the original, and there's even like millennials, like the I guess I'm technically the tail end of millennials, but Matt's generation of folk that love it as well over Gene Wilder, and I'm just like, it's not bad.
I hate
but you've seen Gene Wilder do it, like what? Like it's not comparable.
Film, you just can't do right. You can never do like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
No,
you can't do it better than Dick Van Dyke. So don't try. There's certain films you just can't remake, but they try, and it's just like, just don't do it. If you're going to do that, they should have done Charlie in the Great Glass Elevator or something. They should have done The Next Book. You know, I used to be a bit of a Roald Dahl fan. I
mean, any Roald Dahl, and the more Roald Dahl, the merrier.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, do James and Giant Peach or something, or something.
Yeah.
Like that. That's a film that they could do. Well, I know they've done it a few times now, but no, not like a proper live action version. That'd be great. Do that. Don't do a classic.
Yeah, and thankfully that was done at a time where like it. I mean, it could have been very Disneyfied because Disney was Disneyfying things at that point. All the princess stories, Pinocchio, these are much darker, much darker tales than like what Disney ever presented. But that was Roald Dahl's book on screen. I mean, it wasn't a perfect translation per se, but it was pretty damn close. And they were willing to go dark with it and make it creepy. And like that's literally, it was like partially a horror film. It was shot and filmed like a horror film in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked so damn well. Did you see when, I don't think Disney made it, I think Netflix did it, but it's not Roald Dahl, it's the Indians Roald Dahl. It's is it Rudyard Kipling, I think, is the author?
Kipling, yeah. Obviously things well, he wrote The Jungle Book.
Yeah, did you see Mowgli on Netflix when they did that version of The Jungle Book?
I tend to stay away from Disney when they do live action or remakes or things because generally they just make me sad to be alive. And
generally it's right.
So I generally try to stay away from them. The Lion King live action, I've never brought myself to watch Aladdin. And I've actually, it's all right, but I've never been. The only one I did enjoy though, I did enjoy the Mulan. Actually, I quite enjoyed that.
Mulan?
Yeah, I quite enjoyed it. But I think they did it different enough that actually it was like a different movie, just called Mulan. As far as I was concerned, I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it.
That one hurt me to watch. I think I physically couldn't sit in my seat anymore. I was walking around. I was just like, no, I got to turn it off. But no, I couldn't. I was like, I got to finish it.
I know you mentioned it before, but you hated it.
Oh, it's so bad. It still just hurts me. Because it's such a great story, and they did, I guess, take Mushu out of it and play a little bit more to like the original story, which is good to a degree, but they fucked that up too. But anyway,
I'm glad they took Mushu out. That means that would have been bad.
Unless you got Eddie Murphy back, just bring Eddie Murphy back.
Yeah, paint him blue, and just have him flapping about with a big tail.
I still haven't seen Aladdin, mostly because of Will Smith being blue, not because of anything else.
I can't bring myself to it.
I love Guy Ritchie movies. I like the cast. I like everybody. Mina Masood's a good actor himself. I just like I don't want to laugh every time a main character comes on screen if I'm not supposed to, and I would. That's the thing.
Yeah. And again, I mean, what was Will Smith thinking? Let's say, so I'm going to be compared to Robin Williams' version of Aladdin. Regardless of what I do, I'm going to be compared to it. Maybe I shouldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I should do something else. But no, he did it. He did it.
Disney has done a couple ones that are decent, like Beauty and the Beast, Cinderella. Those were like decent, but those are pretty straightforward. So that's like not hard. I think Jon Favreau doing the Jungle Book, that live action was a good live action. It was different and similar to that. And then he did The Lion King. And Jon Favreau's like, I want to imitate Jon Favreau's career as a director, as a producer. Mm-hmm. I mean, this dude started off, he revamped Star Wars, and then he's the reason the MCU is the way it is. Sorry, Kevin Feige, but Jon Favreau is the reason the MCU is the way it is. Kevin Feige's heralded it into greatness since then, yes, but we wouldn't have it without Favreau.
He's done some good work with Marvel. He has done some great work with Marvel.
And
Mandalorian didn't enjoy the third season so much, but the first two seasons, yeah, exactly, completely revamped it, gave it a different style, and it's kicking ass. It's awesome.
The one thing that I just can't do is the live action Lion King. It's so bad.
I question whether it's live action.
It's not. It is completely CGI. The opening shot is the only quote unquote live action shot in the entire thing. Just that sunrise is
occasional tree. that's an actual tree.
I think the trees are even CG.
Yeah. So what's the point? Just go watch the cartoon. It's great.
It was really expensive, and now Barry Jenkins, who is also a fantastic director, he's the guy. I think he did Moonlight and a couple others. That's the only one that's coming to mind right now. So Oscar-winning director, but he's doing Lion King 1.5 or Lion King 2, whatever they're calling it, and Disney said they want to make it a whole franchisable kind of thing. I'm just like, come on, because where all the other ones that they've done live action have had differences from like the original like books and the original comics or cartoons, whatever. Lion King's biggest difference was they added a dung beetle rolling poop down a hill for 5 whole minutes of a movie. And out of that poop came a tuft of hair that flew all the way to, oh my God, Rafiki, the monkey in his tree. And then Rafiki just sees this one tuft of hair and out of nowhere immediately just goes, Simba. It's like, no. You might have a good sense of smell, but that thing's coated in dung. It's been rolled down a hill, flown across. Who knows?
The magic monkey. He's a magic monkey. Jump on a cloud, fly on the cloud. Oh, it's a different monkey. Sorry, that was bad.
It's Aladdin with Rafiki crossover.
No, there's a series called Monkey, and it was like a Chinese. I think it was made in Hong Kong. But then I think they tried to remake it a couple of years ago. And the monkey, his name was Monkey. And it was like, there's loads of martial arts and stuff. This was a kid's show, but occasionally he would go, and that would summon the cloud that he would then jump on. And he would, for some reason, he would be in that pose.
It was a little orange monkey, right?
It was a kid's show, basically. Yeah.
Wasn't it like a little orange monkey?
No, it was a guy.
Oh, it was a guy. Oh, never mind. I'm thinking about an entirely different show.
Sideburns. It was a great show.
Yeah,
later, it's Monkey. Cloud come. Because as well, it was properly. They did. I said they did a remake on Netflix a couple of years ago. I tried to watch it and it was agonizing, if I remember correctly. It was almost He-Man agonizing, but not quite.
They've just been so bad about a lot of these remakes lately. Netflix decided to start doing it like Disney started doing it, and they're just like random with it. The only one that I do like, though, is that what got us into this. You haven't seen Mowgli, Netflix's version of Jungle Book, right? Because that was Andy Serkis directed it. So the guy that played Gollum and everybody, he directed it, and he's also playing Baloo. And Baloo's not your lovable, like, who come play on my back and let's scratch our backs on a tree, you know? He's much more like the drill sergeant, like, all right, we're gonna get you pups ready for war kind of stuff. And he's like the Baloo from the book. And they do a lot more things like that. And it's the much darker, more realistic. There's a lot more humans in Mowgli. And I think it's good because of it. The hunter that comes in at the end is like great. Check it out, maybe. It's a good one for like family too.
No. Well, I've got teenage boys. If somebody doesn't get eaten or they are desperate to watch Cocaine Bear. When I explained it to them, they think that is the greatest sounding movie in the history of movies. So first time the wife goes out, we're throwing Cocaine Bear on.
You have Peacock, right? Is Peacock available in the UK?
I got to pay for it over. We're gonna have to. It's going to be on Sky Cinema here, but I get Sky Cinema at the moment. We can rent or buy it, but we'll wait for it to go to Sky Cinema.
Okay,
and watch it. But yeah, all the Peacock stuff, all those sort of things, they go on. Sky Cinema used to have all the movie releases, but now obviously all the Disney ones go on Disney and all the. So we basically get a lot of the Warner Brothers stuff go on Sky Cinema now, and Universal stuff on there. So it'll go on there.
Because yeah, Cocaine Bear's Universal. I almost said cocaine's Universal. I was like, well, yes, it is.
Lovely stuff. Don't do drugs, kids.
Or
listen to Uncle Jay.
Do them with caution. Don't listen to me.
The legally acceptable ones and the ones that you like. Do those. But don't.
And maybe one day they'll just legalize all drugs. You know, who knows?
There are seriously some drugs, mate. They should. We can have a discussion on drugs. Seriously, there are some drugs you shouldn't take.
Oh yeah,
bad for you. All right? Don't do heroin. So let's adjust the don't do drugs, kids, to listen to Uncle Jay. Don't do heroin, or crack, or that painkiller one that is very popular in America, Oxy. Don't do Oxy.
Oh, yeah, OxyContin's awful. just go read Drugs for Grown-Ups by Dr. Carl Hart, y'all. That's all I got.
And anyway, me moaning about drugs. There's a lot of alcohol in that.
Mwahaha. Perfect way to end what day is it? Tuesday? Movie Tuesday? That's right. We're Movie Tuesday. That's how I realize like what day it is now. It's what stream did I set this morning? Is it Monday or Friday or what?
What did I miss anyway? Oh, and before did you want to end? Are you running off? Because I had some information about SAG-AFTRA that apparently there's been some big meetings today.
Oh hell yeah, let's talk. Yeah. Let's talk for another 30-40 and
let me just quickly have a look what the message was, because I'm allowed to say some things and I'm not allowed to say others.
Ooh. Yeah, because so far we've just talked about like we mainly talked about Flash Elemental and how much Flash is lost. Flash is on. Have you seen that? Flash is probably going to lose 300 million, if not a little more. 290 almost for sure, just from like the numbers that we went through earlier, just on exhibitor relations on Twitter. But it could be upwards of 350 if they're not careful.
We also had a little bit of information about San Diego Comic-Con. So basically, there was some meetings between the WGA today that apparently went really, really well. They may have broken through a couple of barriers. I've heard this from a couple of different people now, but one, a close friend of the channel, that we say. So their opinion is that might actually avoid the actor strike if they can smack a deal. It's going to be something on the lines of the DGA agreement. Okay. Even though the last time I heard that still hadn't been like confirmed, but we'll hopefully. But the interesting thing is about San Diego Comic-Con that all of a sudden a lot of the companies have started booking talent. So, which is something that's a big indicator that they're confident this deal is going to go. This is going to be agreed the next week or two. So, if they're starting to book talent in now, I heard 6 months ago that Amanda Tapping and Richard Dean Anderson were pretty much tied on to go to San Diego Comic-Con. And if they're going and there isn't an official announcement, something about Stargate, that's it. I give up.
Yeah, at that point, what I don't even know what to think at that point. I don't know. I'd love for them to just bring out everybody. Of course, RDA and Samantha Tapping have to be Amanda Tapping. Oops. They have to be out there. Those two are like the heaviest hitters of Stargate, so they need to be there.
And they've been doing every other Comic-Con.
Oh, if they're just both at FedCon
months, they've been doing all of them. So if they're not at the biggest one, to be fair, I'm not sure if that says I'd be interested to know actually if they're not going, because I would argue that they've done every other Comic-Con. If you're not going to have a big Stargate, because it depends what they decide to do, because they might decide to do this announcement and bring as many of the actors out as you can, do big interviews, and then go, guess what, guys, we're developing a new Stargate, woo, like that. Or do you not have them actors there because they're not going to be appearing in the new franchise? So do you want people that are, actors that are going, here's Jimmy, Bob, whoever, who's going to be appearing in the new franchise? Woo! Or do they do that? So in that case, you don't want the old actors there. But I've heard they're going to be there.
With how pertinent they are to Stargate, they can't not be there. Even if they bring new people out, if I think best case scenario would be RDA pops out, Amanda Tapping pops out, maybe SG1 or maybe a little SGA, whoever pops out.
Michael Shanks is going to be the other one that's pretty much tied up, that's already been approached about potentially appearing in whatever they do. But that was, again, remember this like 6 months ago. I think that was before the movie decision had been made. Now that it looks like we're getting a movie, I don't know if they'll go that. I can't see a big budget cinematic movie in my head with Michael Shanks, Amanda Tapping, and Richard Dean Anderson. I'd be surprised. Happily surprised. I would freaking love it, but I'd be surprised.
I'd be happily surprised. I wouldn't be that surprised with Michael Shanks and Amanda Tapping, honestly. I think RDA, as much as I love the guy, he's built for TV. He's not a screen actor in that sense. He's built for TV. But I don't think if he had that minor like role that was pivotal nonetheless, and I know Matt doesn't want him to die, but they're gonna kill RDA off. He's the first person to go, and it's going to
kill somebody to that gators. They'll kill RDA.
Yeah, and he's the one that he makes the most sense. As much as it sucks, he makes the most sense, and he's like that catalyst that can make everything that if his death makes everything later mean more and make it better. Okay, maybe it's not necessary, but it is a good catalyst nonetheless. I would hope that if they do bring in RDA, they do bring in Amanda Tapping and maybe Michael Shanks, anybody else. Hopefully they'll send out like Miles Teller or whoever. That's just like a good.
Yeah, that was a name we heard a long time ago now. But again, it wouldn't surprise me because I think that's the sort of level of actor that they'd be going for. Somebody that's sort of in ascendance.
Yeah,
like won't be too expensive as well. So when I heard that, I was like, for one, I had to go Miles who, and I had to Google him, and I go, oh, why didn't you just say the guy from Maverick that played Goose? Why did you tell me his name? And then I was like, but that's I think the perfect sort of actor. That actor you go, oh, him, I like him, but you don't necessarily know his name, and that was dead on. So when I heard Miles Teller was being talked to after they approached Chris Hemsworth, but Chris Hemsworth decided to do not Chris Hemsworth,
Liam Hemsworth, the Witcher guy.
But then Liam Hemsworth started apparently he was asking to produce and all sorts, and they went no. So he went, and then he agreed to do the Witcher. I was like, well, like stupid shit. Like,
howdy, Laura.
But again, hey, Laura. But again, that's when they were looking at. They were the TV series was a thing. I don't think the cinematic idea at that point had been. I think the idea was we'll do a series and then, but maybe we could do a movie if we were lucky. And then obviously Jennifer Salke came back in and went, but we've got all this money for a movie. Why don't we just do a movie?
It's like, yeah, but we're going to start with a movie now.
It looks like. Yeah. I tell you what, mate. If you listen to David Blue and a couple of other actors that have come out, it might be a couple of movies they're thinking about, which worries me because I want to see a series. I don't want to see a trilogy of movies because then it'll be 7 or 8 years till we get a TV series. But the problem is, and the bit that's stressing me out, is the people that I know have either they're not in positions they were 6 months ago, or everything's gone really quiet. And I was told a year ago, when everything goes quiet, get excited because that means they're taking it seriously. Then that means when they stop talking to people, because when they're sort of thinking about ideas, they'll be sort of talking to directors. Would you be interested in this? Talk to actors. Would you be? And stuff gets out, so it leaks out. But as soon as they start making any decisions, everything will stop. There'll be no rumors, and there are no rumors at the moment. Nothing's going around. I'm not hearing anything.
Well, you know where my brain goes with that is, okay, well, we haven't heard any rumors or anything about Mark Fergus since December. Maybe the dude's just been hard at work and been writing away and preparing. And that'd be great if so.
I honestly think they're going to go Warner Brothers, though. I'd almost be willing to put money on it.
I'd like that. I did like talking about that the other day. As long as it's not Bad Robot adjacent, and there's a chance in hell.
If they go Warner Brothers, mate,
there's an Ice Cube's chance in hell that it's still decent with Bad Robot because they haven't done all bad things.
Stuff that's good, but they've just done stuff that's shit as well. It's just like, which one do you?
It's just the past decade's been all the latter and not so much the former. That's the issue.
But I'm hoping we find very quickly some names to San Diego Comic-Con. We've got a couple of people that are reasonably close to it, and hopefully we'll find something.
Keep us posted
quite soon. Yeah,
I'll go sneak into San Diego Comic-Con at the end of July. Actually, I don't know if I'm going to be here. Damn, I might. I'll see.
You should be in San Diego. Go to San Diego. Don't be there. San Diego.
Just vacation for a weekend. Not sneaking in anywhere to do anything. I'm gonna let you know.
Just wander across, take a camera, do some videos for Sidetrack. It's work, then. It's work.
Exactly. I'll wear like a press pass. Make them think I'm like doing something like really important.
if you are about and you can get down there, mate, I'll pay for your damn tickets. I'll pay for whatever you want to get in. Just do me a couple of videos.
It's too damn expensive. I'll go down there and film videos for the sake of it.
And then we'll get you tickets. So it's not that expensive. So
that's a pricier one. Like, I don't know. I just go to LA Comic-Con every year just because it's right here, you know. Not every year. I've been 3 years, I guess. The last 3 times they've done it. And it's what, $120 for the whole 3-day weekend. Each pass is like $50 or $60. But if you do like the whole weekend, it's $100. It's like it ends up being pretty cheap, which is nice. And
I had a look at the prices this year. It's not that much. It's not that much more than that. It's only when it gets expensive is if you want to hug a celebrity or go into some of the big things, and then starts getting expensive. If you get like the conference passes and things, that's right. But if you just want to go mooch around the stalls and stuff, and some bobs, it's not that bad.
I literally all of my knickknacks right here. Well, none of it's bright right now because I have all the lights off, but all of my little knickknacks right here, all my little like crystalline figures. There's a skull. There's little Grogu. There's all kinds of things. It all came from Comic-Con. They just have so many great booths. But the pictures with people are by far the most expensive. I've never paid for that myself, but one of my friends that like does a bunch of TikTok cosplay, yada yada, he'll be able to help us out if we want to do Stargate stuff next year. So we got this.
Yeah, let's do that.
I'm actually so down for that.
I'm money aside, so we better go.
Oh no, we're doing that 100%. I'm talking about building costumes to go. That's
I want to do that bit as well.
But he had like an extra ticket or whatever to go take pictures with Frodo and Sam, with Sean Astin and Elijah Wood. So I got a picture with them, but that shit was like $220 just for one photo. And then you have to pay for the photo to actually get the actual like photo after the fact too. So that was another $15-$20. And I almost said, grab me one, but it was going to be another $15. So I was like, okay, you paid for that. I
suppose because you're paying for both of them, aren't you? It's only about £60 for like the B-list celebrities. So you know that guy, it's so much Shepherd is his name. British guy, he played Badger in Firefly. And he played Satan in The Winchesters is the new version of it. Oh, what's it called? Supernatural. He played Satan in Supernatural, I think. Oh, god damn it. Badger and Firefly.
You keep going. I got Google right here. I'm on a laptop.
Badger and Firefly, anyway. He was there, and he was like £60 to go meet him, and I was just like, I'd love to meet that.
Mark Pellegrino.
No. Mark Shepherd.
Oh. Okay.
No, that guy.
Oh, okay. I recognize him too.
He's been in loads of sci-fi. He's in like Leverage and Dave, you were 2 seconds too late. So look, I can control the messages. I forgot I could do that.
I literally, as we were leaving yesterday with Matt, I figured out that because I was trying to click on his link to TubeBuddy or whatever, and then I pressed show and I realized that, oh, that's how you do that.
Yeah, you'll figure it out. So.
Figure it out.
But yeah, but then Nathan Fillion was there, and I'm like, oh man, I got to meet Nathan Fillion. I'm just going to pin him down and go, do Firefly.
And
do it.
How much?
And that was like 90 quid, which would be like $120 for you guys. But that was just our local Comic-Con. That's not a big Comic-Con. It was actually the Welsh Comic-Con. We're 20 miles from the Welsh border, but
nice.
Just ignore that. The Welsh Comic-Con in Telford, England, like you've missed. It's just like, well, there's the border. That's Wales. You've gone here. Like,
right.
Nearly. But they just missed.
They were doing it for Colonel Telford. We've discussed LDP a couple of times. They did it just for LDP Day. That's
what they put. Telford, that sounds fun. But we've got a big conference centre, so they do lots of things. I suppose maybe they just haven't got a similar in Wales, but we've got a big. It's actually called the International Conference Centre. And I think, even when they did that, we're like, they know we're in Telford, right? There's 150,000 people or so live in Telford. Don't get me wrong; it's the birthplace of industry. All of your little machines and stuff, you've got to thank us for that. The world's first iron bridge is here. It's called the Iron Bridge.
Oh, that's creative.
It's a bit of history, god damn it. But you still don't have the International Conference Centre. It's pretty big. To be fair, we have a lot of car shows and stuff there, and snooker. I think.
And the what?
Snooker. What? You don't know what snooker is?
It sounds super familiar. Is it
SNUKA? No, it's pool for grown-ups. So big competitions, you know, table, balls, and snooker. So we have the they used to have a big the World Cup basically in a famous place down south somewhere. But the place got so dilapidated, they've moved up here. So we have the World Championships of Snooker.
Oh, welcome to Telford Snooker.
Nobody cares.
But nobody cares. Joe doesn't care. That dude likes billiards.
Yeah, it's not billiards. It's not billiards. Billiards is a different game again. You Americans, what do you know? I don't do anything.
Well, I mean, you know, we like to. I don't think we made ping pong, but there's ping pong, there's tennis, and now there's pickleball. You ever played pickleball? You've seen the pickleball craze going on?
Do you play with a pickle? Please tell me you play with a pickle.
No. You play with a wiffle ball. It's like ping pong, but on a tennis court with a wiffle ball.
What's a wiffle ball?
You know, the children's baseballs, but they're almost just completely hollow with just holes through them.
Oh, they're like plastic ones.
Yeah, exactly.
But you play tennis with that.
But it's like you essentially use more of a square ping pong paddle and are across like the tennis court from it, like a little bit smaller of a tennis court, not like a full court. And it's ping pong.
Oh, it's not a full size tennis court either, is it? Because I can see a picture for one.
It's like 3/4 or 2/3, something like that. It's smaller. It's fun. Pickleball is just now getting huge, but I've played it. I played at a camp growing up. I've known about it. Fastest growing sport, right, Mama? She knows. Just because she sent me to camp that had pickleball when I was younger. So I've been playing it for years.
Sounds like a game for people that don't want to run around too much.
Yeah, it's a very modern game.
Americans seem to like inventing games where you don't want to run around too much. I don't want to lead into the stereotypes, but this is what it sounds like a little bit. I mean, American football, they stop and stand around a lot.
It's after watching rugby that month in Africa, I like I told you, I can't watch American football the same way anymore. And part of it's because I'm ADD as hell. I like fast-paced things. I mean, I do like that slow burn. I like slow burns, of course.
Yes, I know.
But when it comes to a sport, keep it moving. You know, like it's a sport for a reason. That's why I'm gonna piss off a lot of people. And Mom, don't tell Uncle John, but golf is not a sport. I like golf.
No, it's a game.
It's a game, and it requires focus. It requires a lot of depth, but it's not truly a sport. No. It's definition of sport,
unless you at least has the possibility of sweating. It's not a sport.
Yes.
It should be like I always say the same for cricket. It's not a sport. It's a game. And I'm sorry, but any game that you can play for 5 days and still no one wins, it shouldn't be allowed. But cricket is the biggest waste of time. You guys love baseball. It's supposed to be like the national pastime. We call that rounders, and we only let little girls play it.
I find baseball so boring. I'm going to piss people off that way too. I just don't. But the weird thing is, I swam. I was a swimmer, so like I'm very happy to sit in one lane and just do a bunch of circles over and over, you know. But I like to switch up what I'm doing between those circles, of course. But there's something about baseball that I just. If I could be sitting in the auditorium, like in the stands, have like 100,000 people around me cheering and screaming, I'd just be.
I love The Simpsons when they did about baseball. They were saying it when Homer had to stop drinking, and he went and watched a baseball game, and it was like the third innings, and he's going, "Why did anybody tell me how boring this is? This is so boring, sober." And that's how I know I can't be doing with baseball. And again, it's like there's no thing. There's no. I don't know. There's no. It's not exciting. There's too much.
Yeah.
Even when I watch ice hockey, I love ice hockey. Over here, though, ice hockey's fast. It barely ever stops. I watched ice hockey in Madison Square Garden because we thought we've got to go to Madison Square Garden. So we watched ice hockey. It stopped constantly. I was like, what are they doing? Why are they standing looking? Oh, it stopped. There must be a fight. And I was no, there's no fight because they changed the rules. So there's barely any fighting anymore. Mm-hmm. And it was like, why has this game got so many ad breaks in it? Like every 5 minutes they were stopping.
that I feel like the commercialization of everything is just faltered, like the quick pacedness and all that, and it even does it in rugby a little bit because there were commercials coming on, but the thing I liked about that is they kept like rugby in the corner of the screen while the rest of the commercial was going on every time we were watching it.
Yeah, like, if they tried to do that in this country, there'd be a riot.
Which makes sense. I like it. I wish we're so used to commercialization here.
You have the adverts at halftime. That's it. That's the only time you're allowed to put adverts on. If you try to put an advert on, it's like the same with football. I was actually told that was one of the reasons why Americans don't pick up a lot of football, soccer. Sorry,
I played it for 13 years. I used to be great at it.
But it's because it's too long without an advert, and they don't like it. So don't they? I think they do the same over there, don't they? Don't they put an advert on? But it's like
all the time. It's like football.
Game, carry on the game in the corner. See, we would go. We would go down to whoever was showing, and we would just smash the windows and destroy the place, and punching the executive in the face, going, "Put adverts on my game again." We wouldn't allow it. And then
I don't even like American soccer or whatever, male American soccer anymore either. It's just saying, like, I don't like basketball in general. I like all these sports, but I don't like basketball in general. I don't like watching it anymore because it's, for lack of a better term, it's a bunch of pansies. Like it's not people trying to play the sport. They're trying to get injured by somebody else. They want to get that false call. They want to stop the game and get a penalty on the other team versus actually just playing the game.
Yeah, we get that with soccer a lot, but they're trying to sort of beat it out.
That's what I don't like about men's soccer a lot of the times, or football across the globe, just because it's beautiful and it's articulate and it takes a long time for something to happen, and there's all that beautifulness and articulation through that. But especially just men's soccer in the U.S., it's just same thing with basketball. They'd rather get penalty strikes. They'd rather get, oh look, he slide tackled me here. Let me get a couple free shots, or let me get whatever it may be. Where women's soccer,
there's some very clever football teams out there that use the rules, and the Italians were the best at it. They go to the World Cup and they won a couple of World Cups in a row, and they was just because they were using the rules. They were backing into players in the penalty box and then falling over and getting a penalty. And we're like, no, he did that on purpose. It doesn't matter. You tripped him. It's a penalty. And it's like, but they were just saying, and they're just there going, they just play smart. And it does ruin the game a bit, but you can't. But at the same time, you're like, oh yeah, but they're just cheating bastards. But it's not in the spirit of the game. But
times to play hard, and everybody just wants to play smart now. And I like to play smart. I like to be smart and figure out the little intricacies of things. But like one of my favorite quotes ever is of Idorian, the little smaller town next to where I grew up, said, "And nothing a little brute force and stupidity can't handle." And you can be as smart as possible, but if you got a big old brute that's just kicking something down the field and you can't get past him, it works. It's tried and true. So combine the two in a way. I feel like a lot of ways to keep it a game. It's not chess. If you turn it into chess, which it kind of feels like it's turned into.
Yeah, the tactics of everything. The tactics are fascinating soccer.
Oh, it is.
I called it soccer then. I feel dirty. I feel I've let myself down. But the tactics of football are interesting in that, just like the formations that they play, people can play, and it is fascinating. And there are things that become like fashionable in football. At the moment, it's having a lone striker, having a two holding midfield. These sort of tactics, or five at the back, which I find quite boring. But Man City play that way, and they win everything. So, but these things. Yeah, I love Man City. They're great. But cheating bastards. They've got 100 and something counts of cheating against them going through UEFA. It's financial fair play rules. So there's a bunch of rules about how teams are allowed to spend their money, and they're only allowed to spend a little bit more than they earn. So say I earn 100 million, I'm allowed to spend 120 million a year on the team. Basically, there's more rules than that. But what Man City did, and everybody knew it. I don't know why it took this long to catch him. But what they did was they got a new manager and they paid him officially to be the manager of Man City. And then the company that owns Man City, Abu Dhabi, hired him to also be a consultant doing 2 hours a week for the parent company and paid him like £100,000 a week to do that. So they were paying him twice, officially as the manager, and then this dodgy side deal. And they did the same thing with a lot of players. But also, Man City, they did when they first came in, even though they were a nothing team, they used to maybe get into like the top 5 or 6 before they were bought. All of a sudden, they become the biggest. They had this biggest sponsorship deal ever signed in soccer, football, because the parent companies, Abu Dhabi, lots of oil money, just basically, well, we've got this deal. We want to sponsor you. And it's like the same person. I want to sponsor you. Well, that would be lovely. How much should we sponsor you? I think I should give you £1 billion. Oh, that'd be lovely. The biggest, I think it was like a £50 million a year deal, and the next biggest one behind that was us. Remembering at the time we were the biggest team in the world, and it was like £35 million. And then Man City was like nearly doubled it, and we're like, what? They're like 7th. It's like,
how did that happen? Yeah.
They've been fiddling the books for years, and they've only just got caught. And but they're doing everything they can to try and keep it out of court. The one thing they've done at the moment is they've put in because it's going through. It's probably there's a court of arbitration, and it's going through at the moment. And they're complaining because the judge is an Arsenal fan, and so they don't want him. So like the judge, they're like going, okay, yeah, I like Arsenal. It's got nothing to do with it.
It has nothing to do with your crocshitery. Like
that's the kind of thing they're getting away. They're trying to get away with at the moment, and they're not. It's not gone well. But I just hope they get done for it.
Now I've got some good ammo to mess with my buddy later today. I'm seeing my buddy that's the Man City fan, so I'm gonna mess with him later.
You just want to say that if you were if he was a soccer fan 10 years ago, he wouldn't exist, because Man City fans, there weren't any.
He was one though. He's always loved Man City and Everton, but that's Singapore. I don't know why. I don't know how that happened.
Singapore and Asia though, there's a really big football scene, and there are some random people that support random teams, because if you didn't want to support Man United or Liverpool, you had to support one of the other teams. And say what would happen was, like, say a team got into the FA Cup final one year, and it would be shown over there a lot, and then they'd go, oh, I'm going to be that fan, and then they support these teams for the rest of their lives. And it's just because they got to the FA Cup final one year, or something like that. So that would be one.
That in American football, that's the reason I like the Green Bay Packers. I mean, they're like my second favorite team. I like the Texans, and then I like Green Bay. And part of it's because I spent like 4 or 5 summers for like a couple weeks at a time up in Wisconsin, and we'd always fly into Green Bay. I still have like my cheese hat, you know. I just like cheese, so that's probably part of it too. But after I went to Wisconsin the first time, I got my cheese hat. They had a Super Bowl that year and won it, and I was like, "This is my team now. I like it." I've just that's my stipulations. That's it.
When I was about 6, a team called Coventry got into the FA Cup final, and it used to be a tradition that they would release a song for the FA Cup final. Yeah. So United released one once. It was I can't remember how it goes now. Anyway, but the song about the Coventry was, they released this Sky Blues Shooting to Win, and it got to number 1, and I loved the song. So I went to my granddad. I'm a Coventry fan, and he hit me so hard. I swear to God, I still feel it. And I went to my dad, and Granddad just hit me, and he just generally went, "Why?" And it's just because I'm a Coventry fan. And my dad just went, "Well, I was lucky he didn't hit you twice." And my granddad was just like, "You're a Man United fan. That is it," because he grew up around there. So it's like, "You're a Man United fan." So I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm a Man United fan." And at that point, Man United had won nothing. Man United were crap. It was about 3 years after that we won our first FA Cup final under Giggs, under Fergie, and we hadn't won anything like 30 years. So I was like, I don't want to be a Man United fan. So
are you still a Coventry fan, like in secret?
No, they pretty much went under.
They snacked it out of you.
I was born in Salisbury, down south, so I always follow Salisbury. But that's always, it's not a game of if they won a game, it's a game of do they exist still? Because financially they have got no money. So they go into basically, they go under or threaten to go under like every single year. So it's sort of like, oh, do they still exist? And they keep pulling through. Bless them.
Out of way.
Yeah, I live quite close to Wrexham, so I do follow Wrexham.
Okay,
but I've always have done because my name's Wrexham, and I think it sounds a bit like Wrexham. So when I was little, I was just like, "Who's this Wrexham team?" And so I watched them, and now they're really good. So that's
how do we find a way to get you on like their like? Do they do? I don't know. Do they have like sports broadcasters for these games too?
Yeah,
let's get you in there. We'll find a way.
Yeah, I'm not getting on. that's it's literally it's the biggest sport. Football here isn't a sport; it's a religion. It's.
I'm just saying, I will find a way. I'm not far away from where Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney spend their time. It's Always Sunny is filmed in a 15-block radius.
I'm not far from where Ryan Reynolds lives now. He bought a house just outside Wrexham. So it's about 45 minutes from my house.
You do some door knocking. I'll do some door knocking, and we're going to find a way.
I think I would. It would be. It would be like I don't know. It would be unlikely for me to get on anything commentating things.
We're going to get Sidetrack sponsoring Wrexham, and then Wrexham will sponsor.
I can't afford it. There was TikTok, and now it's United Airlines. But honestly, mate, football. We gave up on religion in England, in particular, probably about 40 years ago, and we just sort of went, I'm not sure that's a thing, and we gave up, and we just became. We were already obsessed about football. When Man United won in 1999, we won the triple. We basically won 3 major titles that year. It's a big deal. Nobody had ever done it before in England. And
99 was a great year, Yeah,
it was a good year. Were you born in 1999, Benny?
I was.
Yes, millennial idiot. But anyway, so the population of Manchester tripled for a day because they did a tour bus through the city. And I think there's at the time, I think it was about 5 million people lived in Manchester, and they estimated on that day there was 15 million people in the city. Because we were just, all of us were at the side of the road just going, yeah! And I don't know how people didn't die, because the bus, big double decker with everybody on top, and they had all their things and everything. But we didn't let we just crowded around the bus, but it kept moving really slowly. So we kept we would all be sort of being just pushed out of the way by this bus, and then more people would come in, and then they'd be slowly pushed out of the way. It was just like a slow bus going through jelly sort of thing, but jelly was humans.
Yeah,
and but there was millions of us on the street. It was mental.
Oh, I'd love to see that. The only thing I can picture is like when the Eagles won the freaking Super Bowl in Philadelphia was just in a riot. It was insane. It was like everything It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia has ever portrayed just happening, just in real time. It was beautiful. It was terrifying. It was.
I remember the World Cup a couple of years ago. We got into the semi-final. We hadn't got into the semi-final before for ages. Like back in like 96 or something was last time we got. 94, sorry, was the last time we got into the semi-final. So we all thought we could win this. And I worked for the NHS at the time. And we weren't really allowed TVs in, but even the manager agreed that we could have TVs in. And we had no staffing. And we basically went on the principle that if anybody gets hurt, it's their own fault. And the whole country just shut down to watch the football. And then we all went to work after. So I tried to catch up on all the people that were. You fell over and broke your leg, you idiot. But honestly, it's beyond. It's not a game for us. It's insane. I think you'd have to like go American football and baseball and basketball and smash it all into one sport, and that's how we feel about football.
It's honestly, as much as Americans do love, or Americans, as much as people in the U.S. love basketball, I don't think that's really what we like. Baseball or football, but you're either like in one camp or the other. Like it's either you're a huge baseball person or you're a huge football person, or you really like both and you don't truly gravitate to one or the other. I'm more of a.
Or you're Canadian and you're a hockey fan.
Yes, that's true. But and then there are people in like the northern U.S. and even like East Coast a little bit. Like I have friends in Maryland who like screw football, screw baseball, hockey. Hockey's it. And honestly, I respect that a lot more than the others, honestly, because half of what those are is just bandwagoning nowadays. But that's everything. So it's not like a big thing. And what my second favorite team is a bandwagon ever. So
Why not? And why not? At the end of it, mate, it's what you love, you know.
Yeah.
And if you genuinely love it, it doesn't really matter why you fell in love, you know. But I saw my wife, and she's got lovely big boobies, and I fell in love with her. It doesn't matter that that's why I fell in love with her. That's matter that I love her, and I keep telling her that, and she won't have it.
Clip it.
You know,
clip this and then send it to your wife.
No, she knows. She knows.
Well, now it's immortalized.
Yeah, yeah. I love my wife very, very much. Don't clip that, for the love of God.
Add that to the clip, whoever's clipping.
That's a joke. I love her and I respect her.
I knew something's coming. I was just waiting. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't fallen out of love with sports because I love working out. I love exercise. I love the process of sport. Just nowadays, my sport tends to be going to the movie theater and sitting down for 2 hours, which I don't mind.
Love. So I mean, it don't matter, does it? It's
exactly. I still hit the gym every day, or as many days as possible.
I box most days, but even that nowadays is my shoulder hurts, or my hand hurts, that boxing was always my thing. I was always I used to play rugby because the school I had, they were a rugby school, so I used to play rugby. Watch football, play rugby. Never watch rugby ever, but I love, and I never really like playing football, but I love watching it. Don't know why. But boxing was always my thing. It was like there's only a couple of things in my life I've ever been good at. Right? My wife is the cutest. She's adorable. How do you know? Shelley, stalking me again. I told you to stop doing that.
Uh-oh.
But it's fine. Shelley, has your gift arrived yet? Can you tell me if your gift has arrived yet?
They actually FaceTime twice a day, and they just haven't told you yet.
No, I'm sure she will. I'm sure they probably do.
Howdy, Carrie. Carrie just joined.
There you go. Carrie.
Gang's all here.
Mouse is wearing shorts.
I am. It's too damn hot. Actually, it's not that hot. I'm expecting to be hot tomorrow.
If he tilts that camera down, you get to see his knees. Just saying. What was I saying? What was I talking about? Only a few things I've ever been good at. Right.
Yeah.
So,
boxing.
I can shoot. That's one thing I can do. I'm quite good. I can bow and arrows, whatever. I was always really. I used to archery for the county and that sort of thing. So I was always really good at that. And I was okay at rugby, but my basic thing was that because I was little, if I ran down the middle, I was almost impossible to cleanly tackle. So I got a lot of penalties. Talking about using your brain, but I was like, the coach is there going down the middle, we need a penalty. And I'm going, if I go down the middle, that 6'3" guy is going to take my effing head off. He goes, that would be great. I'm like, no, it wouldn't be. This is going to happen to me. But I used to.
That's when American football padding does help.
I wouldn't mind it. I wish we'd switch to American football. She is all over my Facebook, to be fair. She is. And no, it's not here yet. Damn it. I sent it on airmail and it was very expensive. So I couldn't believe. I was like, no, you've added a 0 onto that shouldn't be there. But yeah. Anyway, hopefully be with you soon.
I just got my Patreon little official Sidetracker sticker, which was nice.
And sweet. They're quite good.
They do that.
They look all right.
Oh yeah, it looks good. I need to go get a car wash because my car sits under a tree typically, so I've got a nice side of one section of my car is straight bird poop. So I need to get that cleaned off before I put a sticker back there. But it is going on the car. So people are like, "What's trekking? What's that?" Let me look up Sidetrack, and then they're like, "Oh wait, let me just stay here." You know, that's the plan. That's the evil plan. So you'll double our subscribers in no time. But yeah, I know Dave got his, and he's very happy with it. So good. I saw that on Facebook. That's what made me look because I was like, I got a thing on Patreon that was like, you need to put your address into here or whatever, and I was like, why does Patreon want my address? And it was like, we're trying to send you shit. And I was like, oh. Okay, I'll take it. Appreciate it.
And you're welcome because I pay for it. So you're welcome. Well, you don't. You pay for it, but I don't get any money that month. So, but I think that's a fair trade. You guys,
that makes sense.
The least you can do is get a sticker. So
yeah, I like that for Patreon. I like that you do the 7-day try it out thing too.
Yeah.
I didn't know you could do that with Patreon, but
it's a new thing. I think it's just started, so I thought, I'll put that on. You can get a mug if you do like the 15 quid one, I think. That's right. But I think it's nice, isn't it? It's like a little bit of a thank you back sort of thing.
Yeah,
it's really to try to get people to actually keep the Patreon. but it's
a thank you for doing that, which is great.
Yeah, I think it's great. So
Gary wants to join the Patreon.
I have to join Patreon then. So I can probably send you. I think I promised to send Kerry a T-shirt, and I never did. My memory is terrible.
Promise now it's like a iffy.
Yeah, if I did or didn't promise, or did or didn't actually send one, I can't remember. But
wait, I did.
Wait, what did you get? Did I send you a T-shirt or did I send you a sticker?
Oh, I think she's on Patreon, is what it is. You probably have the same issue that I have.
One then, and I don't have to send you anything next because
have my pets not been going through? What?
I don't know.
Pets.
Not a clue. But she'll tell us in a second. But yeah, I've had a hat and a special thing that I've sent to Shelley, and I thought I'd sent it, and Shelley actually said my thing hasn't come yet, and I'm just like, I sent it ages ago.
I remember y'all talking about it.
I was like, I'm so sorry, Shelley. I'll check. And then I got some out of the boot, and there was the box sat in my boot. I was like, sorry, Shelley, I haven't actually sent it.
Yeah, Shelley said it takes about to send something to UK. It takes a week. From the UK, it takes 3 weeks. Weird. It's because they're not on the mainland, you know. It's the mainland has all the big things.
I have been to Canada and I've traveled through Canada, and I know how hard it is to get from one place to another in Canada. So here, on average, you're never more than 5 miles from a McDonald's. We're pretty populated. We're pretty heavily populated. Canada, you can drive for like 4 days and not see anything but a moose. And it's so I would have thought getting stuff out of Canada would be harder than getting stuff in Canada, but maybe I don't know. But
maybe that's why, because they just bring it to the station or whatever, not the station, the post office, and then send it out, and there it goes. But it takes a lot longer for that post office to get to them.
It's probably in Canada within a week, but then it takes another 2 weeks to get from the main Canada post office to your house in the middle of nowhere.
Well, it's because the post office in Canada only use Mounties, of course.
That's true. Across the prairies. Yeah, Mountie delivery service.
Little Monty Python for us.
My wife, God love her as well. We were sitting watching this. It was a TV show about they were racing across Canada, right? It was on BBC. But what they had to do it for the price of an airplane ticket to get from literally the East Coast to the West Coast in Canada. But they had to go up and down and fucking like this. They weren't allowed to just go in a straight line. They had to go to all these checkpoints. But anyway, it was really expensive because like a loaf of bread was like £27 and things like this. It was just horrendously expensive. Only 3 teams actually made it. The other 2 teams ran out of money. But anyway, so my wife was watching this and she saw some Mounties doing things. She went, "Oh, that show that the Mountie was in." I was like, "What are you on about, love?" And she was like, that show with the Mountie. And then ever since, for the last week, I've been singing Due South in my head. And you don't know what I'm talking about.
No, I'm just thinking Mountie now.
That's the place I'm going to. It was about a Canadian Mountie that went down to New York to solve his brother's murder. And then he ended up partnering up with this like tough New York detective.
Did he have a horse too?
He did used to ride a horse quite a lot. But he would... He basically would punch somebody and apologize, and he was just it was like an uber Canadian thing. But Due South was such a great show. I absolutely loved it. They tried to cancel it, and then the BBC ended up paying for it, so we got another season. That's how it was just so popular over here. I don't know why it was so popular over here, but Due South was great. Google Due South.
I feel like either you said something about it before, or someone said something.
Probably me.
There's
reruns on TV every day. Well, it's a Canadian staple, right?
Due
I
south.
love it. Such a good due south. That's the place I'm gonna. It was great. I've never seen the New York guy in it was in loads of other things. That none of those shows are right. Oh, that guy was only in the first. I think he was only in like the first episode, and then he wasn't in it anymore.
Which one, right guy or left guy?
He was in later episodes. The guy in the grey coat. Oh, unless it's just not a very good picture.
Oh, well, this is a different guy.
That's the guy that was in most of the series.
Okay, he looks Italian as can be.
Yeah, he's been in loads of stuff as well over the years. But yeah, it's just
that's a whole different guy too. Yeah, this doesn't look familiar, but
yeah, it's great.
I've heard of it.
You wouldn't have been born. I can't remember what I used to say. I used to say hello to people because I used to do it all the time. And I can't remember what it was. It don't matter.
Littlest Hobo. The best Canadian rerun is Littlest Hobo. Reruns on TV every day. Littlest Hobo had one of the themes tune nevers.
Yeah, it was a little dog, and I kind of did Littlest Hobo go. That was a lovely song. That was actually. I'm gonna have to Google that now. Damn it. The Littlest Hobo.
Dog. Sweet little dog or whatever. They just
it was just a good. It was a bit of a it was like a Lassie type thing. That he would just go and save people.
A shepherd. German.
You're the wrong you wanna be.
That is catchy already.
German shepherd in this one. I don't remember being a German shepherd.
Yeah, Shelley just said German shepherd down there. Interesting.
Tomorrow, gonna settle down.
Well, nowadays, all the Canadians come here, or apparently go to the UK. We've lost Ryan Reynolds to the UK now, but we still have Ryan Gosling. So we have the Ryan Canadians still.
I think Ryan Gosling spends quite a long time in London, actually.
That wouldn't be surprising either.
If you Google it, he spends quite a lot of time in London. It's because Britain's nicer. Not nicer than Canada. It's nicer than America. So, sorry.
Ish.
I think I genuinely have always said that the only place I would live. I love living in Britain. Britain is the greatest country on the planet. It's so nice. We don't have the crime's not too bad. We have a bit, but it's not too bad. It's reasonable. It's just, and we have beautiful, especially where I live. There's rolling green hills and woodland, and it's beautiful. I can drive like 20 minutes in any direction. I'm in the middle of the countryside. It's fantastic.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it's pretty. We have loads of water. Oh, water. Every stormy in the summer, and I'm like, oh mate, we got loads of water coming out of our ears. And he's like, oh, we haven't got any water, and it's 100 degrees outside. But
that's just California. The rest of us have water. California doesn't, though. I don't know what happened over here.
We got loads.
Well, I do, but
we'll be shipping it over to you guys in a few years. But I knew the place on the planet I would live is either Canada or Norway. And Norway's stunning.
I want to go so bad. I'm 36% Norse, so I need to go check it out.
Basically, God did France, and he was like, I've let myself down there. And then he did Belgium, which is just flat and boring, and Holland. Holland got exciting later, but when God did it, it was just flat and boring. It's so flat and boring, they all got stoned just to keep themselves entertained.
And then they had some really creative high ideas and made some really cool engineering, of course.
And then basically, God then got to Norway and went, fuck it. Just went crazy. And did all these fjords and stuff. I'm mental.
And it's so cool.
It's beautiful. If you get to do the cruise, if you ever come over to the UK, do a cruise. You can go up to Iceland, which is also wicked. But then you can actually get the cruise ships and go up the fjords. And that's insane because the side of the fjords are like, you can almost reach out and touch them, you feel like, on the ship. And I remember I spoke to the captain because, you get to go up and speak to the captain on these cruises. And I'm just sort of like, aren't you worried about like hitting the bottom? Do you have to have sonar or anything? It's like, no, as high as that is, the fjord, that's how deep the fjord is. So if you look, look way up there, and I'm like, yeah, it's way down there. So we're not going to hit anything. As long as you stay in the middle, we're not going to hit anything. I was like, bloody hell. But the cruise ship would go right up to the thing, so you could just like get off and go wander around.
A little like port for the day or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, it was amazing. Honestly, if ever you get a chance, do it. You can actually do a driving holiday through Norway as well because they spent all the oil money and they built this amazing highway that goes in through the fjords. So obviously the fjords are like these, like spiky rocks. It's where the glaciers come down and just cut into the land basically. So it's like fingers of hills. So what the Norwegians did is they drilled through in these tunnels, and then they did the road around the bottom, and then they go through the next one, and they go through. So there's this insanely windy road that's just beautiful, cutting in through all the fjords and stuff. And it's, oh man, it's road trip heaven. I so want to do it in a few years.
Road trip's the best. I just want to go visit everywhere in Europe, because like Italy is the only place I've ever been to in Europe, and I just want to go explore.
It's beautiful,
so bad.
Well, come to the UK.
Hey, I'll be there.
You don't have a bed here, but I will tell you there's a lovely hotel just down the road.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm already.
It's lovely.
I'm trying to hostel throughout Europe. Probably a little dangerous, but I don't care anymore. I'm trying to hostel everywhere.
No, we got loads of hostels. But no, man, you'd always have somewhere to kip here, and I'll show you around. And hit a bit of Wales, do a bit of hiking, go and sing. But I mean, you'll have to sort yourself out for your entertainment. But other than that, because I've no. Actually, I'll just introduce you to my mate Damien. He'll sort you out. But yeah, no, man, it's
all Damiens are good Damiens.
Yeah, we all know Damien. But then, yeah, man, go, just get a crappy car or something and just drive.
That's not a bad idea, because it just the little bits of Italy. Because I went from, I guess I was a fly on a wall in Quirico d'Orcia, or however you say it, for a while, and then we went to Florence, Siena, and Rome, like one day, and it was
Florence is beautiful. Rome is just full of pickpockets and criminals and people going, "Oh, I've got no children. They've always got loads of children. Sorry, I've got loads of children. Please give me €5." And it's like, no,
we have, thankfully, she lived there for I think 3 or 4 years at a certain point, and we were meeting her best friend who lives there and teaches dance in town and stuff. So we were like, go here, and just avoid everybody, and it was just great. It was great. It does help knowing people across the globe.
Yeah, it does. We go on these city breaks all the time. Barcelona's an amazing city break. Beautiful city.
Oh, I have a little girl in Bilbao in Spain that I talk to every now and then. Little girl sounds bad. Someone my age, of course, but I have a girl I talk to every now and then in Spain.
In Bilbao.
That lives in Bilbao, and I want to go to Bilbao so bad. My birth mom just hiked from Portugal to somewhere in Spain, and Bilbao was like where she ended, and I'm just like, oh, I want to go.
Yeah, that is cool. And again, beautiful part of the world. Barca's nice though, because it's quite a long, thin city, and so what they do, they built a tram system that runs up and down it, so it's so easy to get around. You just jump on and off the tram, and you can get everywhere. It's pretty cool. The only thing is, if you really want to go see like the Barcelona football stadium, the Bernabeu, you have to a new camp. Sorry, that's right up the top of the city, right high up, and you have to go miles to get out there. But other than that, getting around the main city though, it's just a joy. It's just one of the easiest city in the world to get around, and it's all on the coast, so it's beautiful. But yeah, it's not bad. What's your favorite city? I didn't like Rome particularly. It was all right. I like seeing the Colosseum and stuff, but I didn't like all the people bothering me.
My niece is in USA at the moment at Camp America in Pennsylvania. That's cool. I don't know what that is, but welcome to the across the pond. Real quick, you made me think of something. Right while this is here, though, everything you were saying about Britain sounded exactly like Beaumont. It was like where I'm raised.
That lives in New England, and they said particularly like the northern part of Britain is just like New England.
That would make sense.
That's what it feels like. Northwest. The houses are very different because they've got a lot of wooden houses, don't they? But the weather is just like New England. And
not too shabby. Yeah, because the heat, I think, level would probably be the one thing that keeps you from like being closer to like where I was raised. Because we're hot as hell. It's super swampy and stuff. Or marshy is probably the better thing. My mom would be here and like, stop calling it a swamp. It's just the easiest way to get it across to people.
It's going to be 29 degrees centigrade here, though. I memean, global warming is affecting us. Really? I don't ever remember getting like 30 degrees centigrade. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, sorry. Never used to happen. But the last 3 or 4 years, we've been getting 32, 33, 34 like regularly in the summer. and it's going to be 29 at the weekend, and I'm going to go see a Pink concert.
Pink, as in like, so what? I am a rock star. That one.
Yeah. My wife's a massive fan. It would take me about an hour to hit you. Okay. I'm if England, if that's England, right? So I'm like right bang in the middle, and Yorkshire's just about there, halfway between, and then more north you sort of like hit Newcastle and stuff that before you then hit Scotland. So Yorkshire's proper north, and you got like sort of you got Yorkshire in the middle, and then you sort of got like the Lake District over here, and that sort of thing. So that's and the Dales and stuff you got there. But I'm just below. It take me about an hour. I can be in Sheffield in an hour.
Okay, so you made me think about it when you were talking about how easy it was to navigate the one city. And have you heard of Neom, the Line City?
What?
It's not built yet. I think I'll have Google up in just a second. It's a new concept city, and they're going to start building it soon. But it's similar to like
in the Middle East. That one.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna. It's the one they're gonna build without roads.
Well, it's literally built inside of like this is the concept of where that's the city.
Yeah,
you
the
see
mile
that?
Long. Yeah.
So it's like you literally just hop on a train. Everything's within like of course, like a 5-minute distance of you, like any like necessity of life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't think all this Octagon. I think that's something different. But yeah, this is essentially what it is, which is just like sci-fi as can be, and which makes me kind of interested in like visiting it one day or something.
There's a new technique to make concrete out of desert sand, and they're going to be using a lot of that. And they're going to basically 3D model a lot of the buildings. So it's just like a 3D printer, right? It's this machine. And it's basically got a squirty gun, but it goes zzz, and it just like squirts out the concrete. But it's just like a long machine. But then the machine just moves up. So basically just sucks in the sand, throws in a bunch of chemicals, and then just builds. And then just moves on to the next. But if I'm right thinking, it's going to be train stuff. There's going to be no cars at all. But there's there's going to be like these little. Apparently, the train just appears, but it's got these little clever little tracks thing, and it can scoot around. So it's like a train, but it's not quite. And you can just tell it where you're going. It'll take you there, and apparently there's some really high tech stuff. But it was called Mile Long City initially, because it's just long and thin. But isn't it going to be miles and miles long?
I think it's more than just a mile. Maybe they're only building like a mile at a time or something. The total planned area is 26,000. Oh, it's kilometers squared though. So it's 10,232 miles squared, 26,500 kilometers squared. That's pretty big.
I used to have a mystery and thingy channel years ago, and we talked about this on that channel ages ago because I was arguing, and I got so laughed at. I was saying we shouldn't be living in places that we can grow stuff or nature can live. We should all be living in the desert. So what we should be doing is building vast cities on like the Sahara. The only issue is we've got to get water to it. So you'd have to have, pump water down to it, sort of thing. But we should build vast cities on the Sahara and then let places that stuff can actually grow. That's where we have our farms. That's how we feed ourselves or whatever. But let's let nature take it back over. And people told me I was nuts. I was like, well, nothing. But you have loads of solar panels. You've got loads of closer you get to the equator, loads of sunlight. So energy wouldn't be a problem. The only real issue, and obviously nothing grows there, so we just live there. There's loads of ways you can build stuff to keep us cool. You'd have to have like everything have to be covered. You have loads and loads of plants and things to like try and keep it cooler. And you'd have like air conditioning. There's like really fancy air conditioning nowadays that run on like a tenth of the energy they used to and stuff. But again, you've got solar panels, so solar panels on everything. All you got to do is get water to us. If you can figure out to pipe water, they can pipe oil across thousands of miles. They can pipe water. And I was just thinking, that's the way to go. We should be building vast cities. Gobi Desert, Sahara, basically the entire middle part of America that nobody lives in. That's where we should be living. And I just thought it was genius. And then let everything else, where actually stuff grows, let it grow. And we can have forests again and I like that. They should have called it Westworld.
Yeah, I do like that. I saw that. That was cracking me up. Yeah. No, because
The way to solve all of our future problems, build new cities, purpose-built, modern technology, where nothing else grows, and we'll live there instead. Billions of us should be living there.
yeah, and for those that don't, find a way to live within nature. It's like Matt and I had a whole tangent yesterday. We went and talked about like how the Romans invented steam power. It wasn't necessary at the time because they had slave power. So they were like, we don't need to actually use this. We have all this manpower just to toss at it. This is slower and it takes more money and time, all this different stuff. But that was while they were still the Roman Empire and not a Roman democracy. Because they lasted a little under what like the U.S. is now. I think the U.S. is just a little older than how like we're 320 years as something like, or a little over maybe. And Rome was like maybe just over 300 or something like that. And if the steam power was invented in that 300 years of Rome, who knows what kind of world we'd be in right now? And the way I guess we would be thinking and what we would be even doing, like technology just in the last 70 years has done so much. My mom and I were calling this morning talking about modern medicine, and we're like, okay, so did modern medicine really start in the Industrial Revolution era, or was that like more of the idea of it, and then it actually was applicable in like the 60s and 70s, and that's been more modern medicine since? We were kind of debating that. It's just like, fun things to think about.
Somebody told me that I thought it was really interesting. He said the Roman Empire never fell. So I was like,
it technically didn't.
I'm pretty sure it did. And he was like, nah, it became the Roman Catholic Empire. They just realized that they can either send armies out and try and control all these places, or they can control it with theology. And they controlled Western Europe for the next 1,000 years. And I'm sitting there scratching me thinking, Jesus Christ, he's right. They just figured out a better way to control us.
Well, that's the weird thing. There's a lot more than just that for the Roman Empire, because it depends who you talk to. There were 3 different groups that are still technically the Roman Empire, like today. The Vatican City is that group. There was the Ottoman Empire that became, I guess, in essence, the Ottoman Empire after like the Romans fell, and they kind of adopted that Eastern Orthodox type of version. And then there's the other Eastern Orthodox, the Russian Tsars. So that's kind of gone now, but boom, boom, and pow, they're all technically still Rome. And it was just Eastern Rome, Western Rome, because the last 1,000 years of Rome wasn't truly one state. It was a multitude of things. Yeah.
So, and even then, the Pope was basically the head of state for every Western country until,
and that was just Western Rome. That wasn't Eastern Rome either.
We used to pay Rome a fortune until basically Henry VIII. All that money was funneling back into Rome. I say, let's say the way he argued with me was this: they just found a way of controlling us without an army, and they just did that instead. And I was like, I doubt that's really how it happened. I don't think Octavius was sat there going, "I've got an idea, guys." I think it just naturally sort of happened like that. But the Roman Empire never really fell, and there's still 1 billion of them.
Oh yeah. It's interesting.
Well, I didn't think of that, but
yeah.
Mind blown.
Oh yeah, we had a couple mind blows yesterday too. It wasn't exactly that. What our minds blow on? It was something within. We went on a literal 45-minute rant about math and science right after like talking about the Flash for like 40 minutes. We were like, and then somehow we got into the math and science aspect of something, and we just went off. It was just great, but it was funny. Modern medicine's money driven, not healing driven. Yeah, I guess that's where we were like, okay, so when is that like? The Industrial Revolution was whenever that kind of like changed, and then like 60s, 50s, 60s on, and that's just a way like technology's kind of changed since then too. It kind of coincided along that, which is interesting. We as a species are ever evolving and ever devolving, and it's fun to contemplate a bit.
Yeah, I do feel like we take 2 steps forward and 1 step back quite a lot, don't we? But yeah, the conspiracies then, and then let's say,
yes! Oh my God! Okay, I'm sorry. David just said it. It was 2 Stargates opening at the same time is what we did it. I was like, oh, my mind blown. It just feels like a Stargate opened up over here and a Stargate opened up over here, And then Matt said, okay, so what would happen if you had the event horizon of 2 Stargates open up at the same time and reach each other? And we went into
an infinite thing does that. Yeah, what would happen then?
You should look at that like later half of that video yesterday. Just probably 15-20 minutes.
I'll have a look.
Yeah,
because there would be. Would there be a delay between one opening and the next one?
Not necessarily. If you're dialing from different places, not necessarily. And the best place to do it would be like the what do you call it, in between the Pegasus and the Milky Way, the little like hopping stations. You do one of those stations, open it up at the same time, get them close enough. Technically, if you kept it open, it could have the potential of destroying the entire like galaxy it's in. But if you have the shield technology of Atlantis around it, or even Asgard's shielding technology, technically you could contain that explosion and have a source of energy for a while. And
wouldn't the DHDs sort of have something in there to make sure that didn't happen?
But typically, yes. But we would have purposely placed the Stargates in these different places. So
we're a way to tap into that energy.
And usually we take a second, one of the Stargate people get over there and then wait over here for a second and then open this event horizon, then go. If you just do it from 2 different angles at the same time.
I'm assuming you could even then program a DHD or whatever to purposefully do it then. If you want to then create a, like I say. But
so we were trying to figure out if you force fielded it well enough, could you siphon off energy? Would it be enough energy to like send people back to the Destiny maybe without exploding a planet? We had so many little different ideas. We were going for it. It was great.
Would it be like trying to shoot a bullet with a bullet though? You know what I mean? It's like you're trying to create these 2 things at the same time, and wouldn't you just get an engaged tone?
I mean, that's possible too. I don't think so because, I mean, that the bullets more so has to do with friction, momentum, and velocity, where the other is a lot more in depth, I guess, a lot more involved. Just a single event horizon has all those different things, yeah, but. A lot more science that I probably couldn't quote very well.
You've seen lightning hit lightning. It's very, very rare, but occasionally lightning can hit lightning. That's what I've got in my head now. It's like, and then that then goes bang.
And if you were able to contain that, though, could you siphon off that energy, or could you like use it and then like cause an explosion to shut it down, and then use that energy, or either one? Because we kind of went to like maybe you explode both Stargates in the process, so that would be good for the galaxy because either end shut off. That's fine. Takes the Stargate out there, but then you still, if you're within a force field, that's energy you still have, and it might not be as strong as the continuous thing, but after the fact, you still have a big old battery, and you could use that to recharge a bunch of ZPMs.
Maybe that's how they charge ZPMs. Maybe that's how they do it. They charge themselves. Well, no, they don't really charge it, and they siphon energy from a 0 point. In space, don't they? But yeah, hey, who knows? I'm gonna have to watch it now.
No, I'm glad David said that because the Stargate's opened again in the brain. Whenever he said it, I was like, "Whoo, here we go." It was legit. That was a really fun talk. We just kind of went off. It was great.
This will be when I'm trying to work tomorrow. I'll listen to that instead. Because he wants to work in this heat. I avoided it pretty well today. I have, I did.
Don't worry. I get heat tomorrow. I fly to Texas tomorrow, so that's when it's gonna be hot. It's we're what? I think I looked up. It was in Celsius here. It's 25 right now, which is decent, But that's probably like high 70s, maybe low 80s over here is my guesstimation.
25. Yeah, we were getting 26, 27 last week, and it was hot. But there's no air. That was what was killing us. There's just no air.
Oh yeah.
There's no breeze. We're just dying. 29 at the weekend. I'm not looking forward to. 29 in London. I'm not looking forward to.
Oh yeah. It's gonna be that 30 plus in Texas whenever I get there, which will be interesting. It'll be like 95 all week and rainy, so it's gonna be so humid. I'm gonna be like, I keep saying swamp. I'm gonna be in the swamp. Surprise.
Humidity. Oh, you gotta love a bit of humidity.
I'll sweat off a couple pounds. I'll be happy. It'll be good.
I was in Thailand as a kid, and I just remember, how do people survive here? I've been sweating for 3 days.
Technically, Beaumont is like one of the. I think I forget who rated it, but it's like the third or fourth most consistently like hot place. That's not truly like a tropical rainforest, which is great for us, you know.
Great. Well, let's see what goes. Let's see what happens. But I might not be here next week because I might die. So from heat stroke, because I don't do heat well.
Well, sit by the ice box. Keep some ice near you.
Fair enough. Yeah, just be
or go sit in a sauna all day and then walk outside and it'll feel like nothing.
Oh, should I say it's 32 degrees centigrade there now? Oh God! No,
in Canada, it gets that hot in Canada.
My pal used to live in Canada, and he was like, I think he lived in Quebec. I never visited him over there, but I think it's Quebec. But he has a pool in the garden, and he was saying there's like 3 feet of snow in the winter, and it's like 30 degrees in the summer. It's because he kept telling me you'd love it. I love the snow. You love it. It's best of both worlds. And he's saying in the pool, the pool was heated, so you'd have to run through the snow and dive in. I was like, that's cool, man.
That's insane. I wouldn't think it ever got that hot in Canada. I know the snow's there, of course, but like, because I went there in the summer 5-6 years ago, something like that, and
second largest country in the world. Which part of Canada did you go to?
We went right above. We went through Alberta, a little bit of BC. My mom could tell you more. Tell me where we went. But yeah, it wasn't that hot. Then we did take a family trip to Alaska in 2020, and
yeah, but that is cold, though, isn't it? That's in half of it's in the Arctic Circle, so that's a bit.
It was about the same heat level, and it was kind of chilly, kind of not. It was nice, actually, very nice. It was like you could wear shorts or you could wear whatever. It's kind of like here, honestly, where it's always 60 to 75 here typically, and you're like, okay, well, now it's a little windy. I'll put on a jacket or I'll put on some pants or something, and then it gets a little hot, and you're like, oh well, I can do whatever. You see people fully clothed, and you see people in like tank tops and like shorts, and it just kind of it's how people do, and I guess that's kind of how it was up there. But the thing that threw me off was I don't get it. I'm still trying to figure it out to this day. Is where we were in Canada was like we went to Anchorage, Alaska, so not far up in Alaska, not like way up there.
Yeah.
But it had like the whole like it got dark at 11 p.m. and it wasn't really dark at 11 p.m. It got kind of like it looked like evening at 11, and then it was really dark for maybe 2 or 3 hours, and then you'd wake up in the morning at 7, and or it'd be back light by 5. You wake up at 7, and it looks like the middle of the day again. Where Canada wasn't like that, which threw me off. I was expecting it to be like that.
We went that far north, and
we went to Alberta, Banff, a couple other
Banff
places.
was in this show that I was just watching. Banff isn't that far from the border.
No, Banff wasn't too far.
So you're very but you remember there's 2,000 miles.
We went up. We didn't go up that high, but I would think we were up in a similar like equidistance wise, just to Anchorage. So that's what throws me off. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud.
Second largest country in the world, so you can probably wander around and get a few different climates. But yeah, Alaska's pretty. I believe it's pretty cold.
Know that one.
Shut up, Siri.
She doesn't know that one, you know?
She doesn't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Shelley said it depends where. West is cooler than Central. That would make sense. I want to go to just more British Columbia. Yeah. If I go to Canada again, BC is where I want to be, just because Trailer Park Boys, and then I like the wild. So, but also Carrie and Shelley and I were talking about Nova Scotia. I do want to go visit Nova Scotia.
New Scotland.
Yeah. My parents went, I think, on one of their anniversaries there, which inspired us to go take the family trip up to Canada. And
beautiful. The seafood and stuff up there, lobster and everything. It's just above Maine as well, isn't it? And that sort of area, New England, Nova Scotia, that sort of area. Some of the best seafood.
You just brought back some internal anger from last month. Because when I went to Maine in May, yeah, it's last month. Them bastards got lobster rolls the day before we got there. And when you're all with like a little film crew and stuff, and little skeleton crew, it's kind of like everybody eats the same things every day. Of course, you have options, whatever, but like they're kind of eating very similar to along the same things every day. So the lobster rolls were gone by the time we got there. Like the 3/4 of the crew got there. Only the first quarter of people got it. And I'm just like, wait on us. Like, come on. I want the lobster. So I went to Maine and didn't eat lobster. So I'm pissed off about that. But I got some really good pasta in Boston, so I was okay. But
your mom said Lake Louise. Oh, Lake Louise. Is that the one that's like that? It's like an insane blue color.
Yeah, it's almost that like turquoise teal kind of color.
Yeah, I saw that as well. This TV show that I've just watched with them like traveling across. I've always wanted. What I was going to do, me and the wife were going to do a road trip, and we were going to go to like the northernmost most point in, or go to what's the city, the side of Canada.
Left or right? Left or right? East or west?
In the west, right in the top corner. Oh, just a second. I'll tell you in a sec. Because I go to Vancouver. So I was going to drive from Vancouver to San Diego. Was my plan as a road trip, and I thought that'd be really cool. Go through Oregon, go through California, amazing. But after watching this show, I'm gonna go Vancouver, maybe to like Winnipeg or something, and do a road trip like that, and just go across Canada. But go through the Rockies a little bit, hit a couple of the Great Lakes and stuff, and that's what I'm thinking. So road trip, baby.
I want so bad. I'm getting hungry. I need to go sit in the sauna, come back and eat some lunch, and then I get to go. Yeah, I can announce that. It's not announcing or anything. I auditioned for a horror movie for a couple people that I know, and I didn't get it. They already filmed the whole thing, which thankfully that happened. Anyway, I have thoughts that I'll move past there. Okay. But it happened so I could be in this horror movie now, and not necessarily because of that, but this is kind of happening because I wasn't in that, which is okay, and it worked out. I think it makes more sense at the end of the day.
Sometimes these things work beautifully.
But I get to go see that movie in its very first iteration today, the one that I auditioned for and wasn't able to make it because I just know like the filmmakers and all that, and some of the people behind it. So I get to go at 3:00 today. Go check it out.
Very cool. Send us a link. We'll have to see. We'll have to have a look at it at some point. But definitely do that. Can't wait to watch the movie you're actually in.
Yes, that I'm pumped for. Okay, maybe I should announce it just so I force my own hand a little bit. But after I'm done filming this one, and then after the producing this play, the playwright / director of this is like, okay, you're not letting it go. I'm forcing you to do this whether you want to or not. I'm like, okay, good, because I want to do it. So anyway, I have a short film that I've written, and I'm going to direct and produce it right after. So I just have to figure that little bit out. But now that it's out there, I have to do it. So
Sidetrack is behind you. We will get at least 10 or 12 people to watch it.
Damn right.
Because we'll put it through the channel. Why not? Hey, we're just waiting to critique it. This film is shit. I love Harris, but my God, that boy can't write.
Well, okay. See, I shouldn't have. Never mind. I have more thoughts. I don't expect that to be about what I wrote. The other thing, maybe a little bit. We'll see. We took the Rocky Mountaineer across Canada. That's what. Okay. That would be. You might not even need a road trip. That would be a good thing. That's what my parents did to inspire us to go as a family up there. I think it was an anniversary trip for them. They took late summer. Yeah, Rocky Mountaineer. They went from I think west side all the way to Nova Scotia. Then they spent a little time in Nova Scotia area afterwards, which I so thought Trailer Park Boys was BC, not Nova Scotia. I don't know why that's in my brain. But Trailer Park Boys are great, and I'm still pissed at you about the lobster, Shelly. Lucky. But the train ride took them across like all like the pivotal kind of spots across, I guess, mid Canada or lower mid Canada, and it was, check that out. That might be like a not necessarily a cheaper option than road tripping, but like a pre-planned like road trip essentially. That you just get to be fancy on a train, hop off when you feel like it, and you and the wife get to do what you feel like, you know, go venture in town, whatever.
Yeah, I'd say I like the road trip idea because I like the idea of getting up into the mountains and getting up to, but I mean, you can mix it up. Don't have to.
Because I love trains.
I'm not RVing it again. That's one thing. I'm not RVing it again. We did an RV trip and we did this 36-foot long feckin' RV, and it was a nightmare. At one point I drove into a car park by mistake, and it was a little narrow car park in front of a row of shops sort of thing, and we were just like, well, that's it. We live here now. I can't get out.
We live here. Oh God.
Yeah, this is just done. But it was awful. Awful.
Did you have to get people to move to get you through there, or what?
Well, everybody had to get out, and they're like, left hand down, right? And I tried to reverse this 36-foot RV out of this skinny little car, but it onto a main road, because the road was in a corner. It was like a corner like that. But what we did is we came off. So then it's split off to go into this car park, or you carry on like 10 meters and it goes around the corner. So we came off too early, thinking we were staying on the main road. And we came off slightly too early and went to this car park. Well, oh God, dear God. So I had to reverse basically back onto the main road in a 36-foot RV, because you could get out the other way, but I couldn't get the RV around the corner. It was too sharp. So I couldn't get round. So we had to reverse out back onto a main road. It was awful.
Good thing you were big enough to see while you're reversing, but
and then we accidentally drove into LA, into the city. We were trying to get to. We thought we were going to go to like Long Beach, something like that. So we thought we'd go into it, and we think it's over there. So we got. And I remember I got into this thing, and there was this guy in a very beautiful. I think it was a 350, and I swear I got about that close to him. And I just remember looking down, and I could see this guy looking at me like
he's just like,
in this army. But it was like bumper to bumper traffic. We were like, we must get out of here immediately. So I sort of drove around the block and shot back out again.
Did you have it like? Have you driven big trucks like that before, or no?
I've never driven an RV before that.
Oh, that's.
I had air before that holiday, mate, and all this happens during that holiday. I fell out. I remember we drove up to the Grand Canyon, and the wind was so bad. My mate was driving, and he was all like, "I've driven these things before. Yeah, like, come on, I'm our way." And we drove over this like little metal bridge, and the wind was coming down the valley, and it hit us like a boom. And he properly went, "Jeez," and thing. But it's because it was kind of snowy and kind of icy as well. And there was a car coming the other way, and he just missed it. And then we got off the bridge and stopped and just got out the car and just walked off. He didn't come back for about 20 minutes. I think he just went around the corner and sort of went, or like, changed his shorts and sort of come back.
That's one of those Deadpool quotes. Is like, it's a good thing you wore your brown pants today. It was
it was definitely a brown pants day. But when we were coming up over the top, before we went to the Grand Canyon, and that was amazing. It's one of the even though you do stand there and sort of go, it is amazing, but what do we do now? Shut up and look a bit longer, and then we'll get back in the RV and go back down again. But it was a race down because we started getting like we call it slush. What do you guys call it? It's like half snow, half thing. But it was coming down like and this RV.
Did you have snow tires on it or no?
No,
you don't need snow tires for slush. Yeah.
No, we didn't have anything. But you couldn't just drive in a straight line with this thing. You were constantly doing this to adjust, to keep it in a straight line. And initially, coming out of Vegas, it was alarming, but you got used to it, and you don't think about it after a bit. And you're just like, you're just constantly adjusting your chat, In the snow,
wide open road to get a little used to it outside of Vegas.
Oh, yeah, because we started out of America. We started there. We went over to Lake Mead. We went over to Arizona, and then we went up to the Grand Canyon. Something. And coming down the Grand Canyon, we were going down roads that like 45 degrees. Like that came down the side of like some of the and that was just like, if we need to stop, we can't, because I can smell the brakes here. We're going to die. And I mean, like, I'm lowering the gears down to try to. But anyway, But driving in the snow, I just remember like, guys, you left letters for your loved ones, right? Because we're definitely dying. We're not surviving this. And I'm just like, I'm instead of like little corrections, I'm properly doing this down this fucking one of the interstates.
You feel that full power steering start taking effect, and you're just terrified. Oh,
I was just like, anybody comes the other way. Oh, sorry. So if I have to touch the brakes, we're definitely going off. And that was the way I felt, and just like it was just a race to get off the to get down sort of thing, to get dry air again. But I was amazing. We did Route 66, and we came to the state where the Route 66 it's the old road, and we were properly like driving along.
Yes. I love that road though.
They're like all like dune buggies and stuff coming the other way and having a whale of a time, and we're these idiots on an RV.
Just knocking out 3 dune buggies in a row.
Are you enjoying this yet? My freaking spine.
You're bouncing just as much as the dune buggy.
Yeah. And this bloody RV. Oh, it was awful. Never, ever doing that again.
There were two situations that I feel like I've almost died while on the road and just been like, oh god. Well, okay, there are more than 2, but two like traveling kind of deal. One was on Route 66. It was right after we got off those kind of road area. It was me and my friend Hannah was coming to come visit me in LA, and we were driving back from Beaumont to LA. And we hit I-40, got to Route 66, all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And we were in the mountains, and it was I think it was our last stretch. We had like 5 hours. We were in the very kind of like western side of Arizona, and I don't remember exactly where, but it was dark as hell. And I think we finally got into LA at like 2 a.m. that night. So we were like, we're finishing this. We're getting there. It was already dark, and it started raining while we were going downhill, and I was already going like 80, so I was just speeding a little too much, and we were just like fast and furiousing this entire mountain downhill. And I was just like, we're going over any second now. Hannah was like, slow down. I was like, I've been pressing my brakes. It's not working. It was just, we're going. The water's just making us slide. We're not slowing down.
We're a boat at the moment.
Terrifying.
Jesus
but
Christ.
The other, though, I wasn't worried. That was the more worrisome one. This sounds terrifying. I would not want to be
blown over. Jesus Christ. We thought we were going over a few times. I remember we were down by Lake Mead, and we were there during the shutdown. That was the best of it as well. So all the government employees had shut down, but they let us on, weirdly. And they said, look, tomorrow you can't stay tomorrow because it's a shutdown. We won't be here. So, and it was a federal lake we were next to, near Lake Mead. We weren't Lake Mead, we were near it. It was amazing. You see like the dirt devils going across the sand and everything. And we kept telling my mate that he kept trying to cut through we were walking along the road, but we had to sort of like go the long way around to get to the RV, and he kept trying to cut through all the bush. And it's like, mate, there will be snakes. And then you've never seen a man jump out of his life as quickly as when we suggested snakes. But anyway, the RV was we were sleeping like this, and the wind was just rocking the fucking RV all night. It was quite pleasant. But we were generally like, well, we're going to wake up on our side, 100%. There's no question. But we didn't. We survived. So, but the Grand Canyon was genuinely alarming. It was scary when we got high up. It was always awful.
It's I-40. Yeah, literally both times it was something scary like that's happened was I-40. The other time I saw an 18-wheeler get blown over, and we didn't really see it get blown over. It was a dust storm that we were driving through, and it was one of those things where like right before you get to the area that's like that stormy kind of spot, it says, yeah, right, your viewing point will be less than a football field in front of you, so just be prepared. It's like, oh, great. It said, just don't stop, keep driving. It was like, oh, great. That's exactly what I want to hear. And while we're starting it, all we hear is this big old boof. What the hell was that? And we get to it like a couple football fields down the road, and there's an 18-wheeler on its side. And this is after just I-40. You go through I-40 in a day. And this one day, we went through a dust storm. There was a forest fire that started. It ended up being just a larger brush fire. It was only like 10, 20 acres of fire, so it wasn't too bad. But frickin' highway was blocked up like nobody's business. It was a windstorm, a dust storm, We got hailed on. That was the other thing. We were being hailed on at another part of the state. We were just like, what the hell is going on, Arizona? It's insane. My mom and I drove through Arizona one time while it was just blizzarding, and you can't see anything. I don't know what it is about I-40, but I-40 is it's so freaking gorgeous. But part of that gorgeous is the beauty, or the beauty is the dangerousness of it all.
Yeah.
The scariest things of nature tend to be the prettiest sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, afterwards,
Yeah.
like going to the Grand Canyon was amazing, but it was amazing afterwards when we got down, and that was just like, we've got to get down, guys, because we cannot be here at night. We cannot be on these roads at night. We've got to get off this rate. It's not a hill, is it? But you know what I mean. We've got to get down. Yeah. But I cannot remember where we stayed. It was somewhere just south of Los Angeles. And I cannot. I keep thinking, if I see it on the map, I'll recognize it. But it was
what was it? More beachy, or was it more?
It was a lovely beach, and it was quite a little town. It wasn't very big. I think it was about. It wasn't more than about 45 minutes from the bottom end of when LA starts getting busy, sort of thing. Because we thought about going over to like Laguna Beach or something like that, and we didn't make it.
Was it like a little quiet town? Little like.
Yeah, it was only little.
Does Dana Point sound familiar?
No, that's the problem I'm having. No, it was bigger. It was much smaller than Dana Point.
Okay.
And it wasn't San Clemente. I don't think we were near the nuclear power plant. I don't think we were that far, but it was really little. There was like a high street, but it was like 45. We had an RV park, and it was like 45-minute walk to the actual town. But I cannot remember. I'll have to dig out my photos because it'll be on there. We drove through somewhere between Oceanside and San Clemente. Anyway, we were. But yeah. He gave me some chocolate cakes when the boss came and checked the van, so chocolate cake all over and thought I'd pooed myself. These things happen.
Did you get a raise after that?
You should.
And how much you tried to convince your boss it was chocolate cake after the fact? He didn't. No, he didn't think so.
Yeah, I got into I used to work in mental health, and I basically got into a fight with somebody that was in crisis. They weren't well, and it turned into a fight. And when we were sort of holding him, I didn't realize I was sat in a Mars bar. So I was sat in this Mars bar and we were holding him. So then when I stood up, I had this brown, and worse for words, I was wearing like beige khakis. So they were quite light coloured. So it just right in my butt crack was this like square. And it was all different colours as well. So shades of brown, if you know what I mean. Because like the caramel had got in there and everything. So it genuinely looked like I'd shit myself.
Someone was like, "Did you have carrots for breakfast?" Like,
I mean, I'm there going, no. I stood up, but even then I'm going, no, it does look like I've shit myself. Yeah.
It does. Oh, God.
And I'm like putting my hand on that. Look, no, I haven't shit myself. I didn't.
Which worries the shit out of everybody else.
But the best of it was my manager just went, "Yeah, it does look like you shit yourself." And I'm like, "Can I go home and get changed?" Like, no. So I had to do like 5-hour shift left. So you bastard! I'm going to spend the whole day going around. No, I haven't shit myself.
That's scarring. If you were in the U.S., you could like get someone in trouble for that. Like that.
We always used to take spare tops with us to work. I always used to have a spare top in my thing in case, because you get ripped into. You always get your tops.
Yeah.
But I never had a spare pair of trousers. Never occurred to me that I'd need one until I shit myself. It was awful.
Oh God. I need to see that versus David's. That sounds like a good
yeah.
Sketch.
Well, it's just David's that reminded me of that. It was so terrible. Because how scared were you? Constantly. How scared were you? I wasn't.
I promise.
Yeah. It was, these things happen. Oh, well.
So
anyway.
it's bad that this came to mind after that, but just to kind of wrap up today, one more little movie topic, I guess, because this movie came out. It's either last weekend or the weekend before, and I've said it a few times. The comedy aspect of what just happened is what brought me onto this. Nothing else. But The Blackening is a very funny movie, and it's so right now we got No Hard Feelings coming out this weekend, which looks great. We talked. I talked more about that the other day. We talked a little Asteroid City when you came in. So that's what's coming out this weekend. No Hard Feelings ends up being more of a rom-com than an actual like comedy, and I
love a rom-com.
I think it's better for it. Usually, I'd be like, I want the more comedy, not so much the rom-com. This turns into more of a rom-com where it was advertised more as a comedy. Totally the better for it. It's really good because of it. The Blackening, though, is advertised as a horror parody, but actual like horror comedy movie, and it hits every single note absolutely perfectly throughout the entire thing. And it's No Hard Feelings, The Machine, About My Father, The Blackening. There are comedy movies out right now, and all of them are good. And this hasn't happened in a long time. We got Cocaine Bear earlier. We get Strays soon. Like,
yeah,
I'm just happy as can be.
And Americans don't genuinely do comedies very well because you have no sense of humor. So what you need to do is get the Canadians to make your comedy movies, traditionally, and then or British people to come and do your comedies.
I love British comedy, but Americans do comedy well, very well. We were talking about Blazing Saddles earlier, weren't we?
Isn't Mel Brooks Canadian?
Gene Wilder's not.
Check that.
I said it, and I'm just like, I've been screwed over before. It might happen.
I'm pretty sure Mel Brooks is Canadian. No, he's not. He's American. He's American.
Mel Brooks?
But he lived in Britain for years, so he's partly British.
Oh,
so I'm taking that. But Gene Wilder, I don't think Gene Wilder is.
He's American.
Yeah, he's American as well.
Yeah, he's from Wisconsin. He's from Milwaukee.
Yeah, he's from Milwaukee, which doesn't really count. Isn't that barely? Kerry's got it right. British Canadian comedy is very similar, and I saw a guy talking about he was he actually used to work in movies. He'd actually met Mel Brooks talking about it, and he said to me that because basically American humor is about 5 years behind British humor. So whatever we find funny now, you guys will find funny in about 5 years. And it's true. And he was said it took you guys until the mid-90s to understand sarcasm. And it was only really like Friends that was sort of like...
Hell no. Have you ever heard of George Carlin?
Yeah, George Carlin isn't... Well, I don't know, he's sarcastic, I suppose.
Yes, he is! What? Like, talk about Mel Brooks and Gene Wilder, and then we didn't know sarcasm until the 90s?
Yeah.
What?
George Carlin, I don't think he was full-on sarcastic. He's more of a commentator and a...
It was ironic sarcasm a lot of the times.
Which is amazing. Anybody in America understood what he said then, because you don't get irony either very well.
Oh yeah, we do. It's just
you are better at it now, but I mean back then, the amount of times because British humor is very dry. So yes. I got in trouble in America because I said a few things that I thought was very, very funny, but you don't laugh at your own jokes here. If you laugh at your own jokes, you're an idiot. And I am talking about decades ago. I think your mum's just said it's
yes.
You never used to get it. You guys started watching Benny Hill 10 years after we realized he was a sexist pig and not to watch it. And you guys thought it was brilliant.
Which one?
Benny Hill. Yeah. And Monty Python and that sort of thing. You watched Monty Python ages after us.
Well, see, I agree with you in like the witty humor. Other humor, we're ahead of everybody else. We're the biggest shitheads on this planet. Witty
stand-up comedians. All the best stand-up comedians are either British or Canadian. You've got one or two. Chris Rock ain't anything like as funny as he used to be, and he basically just tells stories and shouts a lot. What other American stand-ups are there?
Robin Williams, George Carlin, Eddie Murphy, Dave Chappelle, Joe Rogan.
Right, okay. No, Dave Chappelle is damn funny. Eddie Murphy did one funny live, and then he went into movies.
He's done multiple funny
and
lives.
Even then, he just tells stories about life. Richard Pryor, genius. But you're talking about a handful. And again, Richard Pryor just used to tell stories, but he was actually genuinely a genius.
Yeah. So was George Carlin, which those two, those are my favorite.
George Carlin is one of my favorite stand-up
Robin Williams as well.
I never found Robin Williams that funny. Not as a stand-up. He was too all over the place, and he was a much better comedic actor than he was a stand-up comedian.
I agree there, but I think he's one of the greats in stand-up just because of how many people emulate and kind of course, just pick up his pieces.
But we've got Billy Connolly, Eddie Izzard, Michael McIntyre more recently. The list of British stand-up comedians goes on and on and on. And we generally tend to do... No, but the list goes on and on and on and on.
I named 6 Billy or 7 before come on.
Billy Connolly is you haven't got a comedian that maybe other than George Carlin that comes near Billy Connolly. He's one of the greatest stand-up comedians of all time.
I think he's one of the greatest. I don't think he's in the top 5. I would say top 5 are probably all American.
I would say this Billy Connolly, and then you maybe have a top 5 coming underneath him because you can't put that man in a list. He's a genius and he's beyond anything. When he was at his best, in particular, he was a genius. And he was one of the first one of those comedians ever to start telling stories. He cut jokes out completely. He would just tell funny stories, and other comedians followed.
That's where comedy started, though. He wasn't one of the first people. That's where comedy started. People started adding jokes and subtracting them later on. That's where we got the concept of comedy. That's just being old at that point.
But that's not stand-up comedy, no. But stand-up was always about telling jokes. He was one of the first ones to really start telling stories, and he would ramble for ages. And it was just telling funny stories. But no, I think George Carlin is pretty much the only American stand-up I can think of that I actually can watch at any point, and he's just a genius.
It's still. I told Matt about it yesterday, but you should watch Kill Tony if you've ever seen it. It's an hour and a half, 2 hours every Monday. It plays at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so it's bad timing for y'all. It's like 4 a.m. for y'all. But it's always on YouTube after the fact. It's the concept of it. I love watching it. And that's why I think I grew up watching a lot of British things, British comedy. That's one of the reasons I find all that kind of stuff funny. Like I told you, like Luther is one of my favorite things ever. Like I watched Luther from beginning to end. I still haven't watched After Sun. I still need to watch that.
Not a comedy, but yeah, I know.
But I've always been. I like to seek outside. I like to, I'm an encyclopedia for film things, and a lot of film things have been English, and we've gone over. There's many great English actors that tend to be better than U.S. actors, so I delve into all that kind of stuff. But I don't think. I think where everyone's generally comedic in like the UK, just because like Billy Connolly talks about it. I can't say Connolly, good Lord, words. But he talks about it like everyone's just generally has that dry, witty sense of humor because everybody's living in the same condition or similar conditions where you can find 24 types of humor across the US, and each one is very distinctive, and they all correlate to a degree. But they're distinctive, but they're still large enough because the U.S. is well known across the world where anybody can kind of latch onto it. Where I do adore and love English and UK comedians in general, but a lot of the times, even Billy Connolly, where I agree with you, he's one of the greats. But 50-60% of the world might not find him really that funny, or they might think his comedy's outdated.
People who wouldn't find him funny anymore, I argue that, and even understanding him is interesting.
Oh yeah, and I think the only reason I can like him as much as I do is just because I watched or found so much like just British TV when I was younger, and just like that kind of stuff. But that's where I would argue y'all have like a much more generic base, and that's why a lot of us, that's why like you can blanket coat and be like, yeah, the US doesn't like, not as funny generally, or yeah, but like half of us are, and that half is still way more than like most
there's New York, you get really funny comedians.
Yeah, they're just abrasive bastards. They're funny.
Yeah, and I think there is humor in that. You know, George Carlin was an angry comedian. That's why he was so funny.
Bill Burr.
I've never liked Bill Burr. I've seen a couple of his early stuff I really liked.
I was about to say, that sounds like
lives I loved. But I tell you what, who's the he's like, I think he's Mexican, quite a fat guy.
Oh, Fluffy.
He follows not even remotely funny. Don't get it. I've watched a couple of his specials now because one of my kids likes him, and I'm just like, this ain't funny. Or you have to wait like half an hour, and then there's like, that's a.
But you just talked about the stories. Nobody tells a story like Fluffy.
I'll listen to his stories, and I think it's just not funny. But once or twice he was very funny, but in the live special, this most recent live special, I watched it all, and he was maybe made me properly laugh maybe twice.
I don't know about the most recent. I'd have to think about it. But the ones he did back in the day when he was, because he's lost a lot of weight and has changed his mindset and a lot of things. You know, it tends to do. I still.
Comedians aren't as funny as they get older. They're just not.
That too. Well, there's George Carlin and Billy Connolly and Richard Pryor. But you know,
Richard Pryor did just get funnier and funnier. But again, telling stories and things. But I mean. It's talking about George Carlin was just a freak. He's the thing. But one of my favorite comedians is Eddie Izzard. He had a couple of brilliant specials back in the day, back 20 years ago, sort of thing. But I tell you what, his more recent stuff is crap. It's not funny. He's gone a bit weird. He was always a bit weird. But in the recent years, but if you go watch Eddie Izzard Glorious, it's one of the funniest live stand-ups ever done. Now he's mental, and he's not funny. And he's my favorite.
I recognize him.
Yeah, he's my favorite comedian when I was a kid. Don't get him now. Michael McIntyre is probably my favorite comedian now. I think he's just genius, and he just tells stories. But he jumps all over the place, and you know he'll start a story over here, and then he forgets. You think he's forgotten about it, and then there's the punchline. Is about 45 minutes later.
Wraps it all together.
Well, which Billy Connolly was just the master at. But the thing I saw about Billy Connolly, I saw him do 3 shows in the same tour, and each show was completely different because he'd start the same way, and then he'd very clearly forget and wander off. And it would just be like, and every so often he'd be like, "Oh yeah, I'm supposed to talk," and he'd come back to a bit on the show. And then he'd just wander off again. So 3 shows, same tour, within about 3 months of each other, and he was all 3 were completely different. But Michael McIntyre and Jason Manford and comedians like this are my favorite comedians at the moment, and I think they're great. I can't tell you any American comedian at the moment that I particularly like that's active at the moment.
See, I don't have a favorite at the moment. I could tell you a half dozen or a dozen decent to great ones. I don't know. I don't know if I have a favorite.
The last Bill Burr I didn't like. The comedian that I really do like, and actually his last one wasn't very good either, was Jim Jeffries. I love Jim Jeffries. And obviously he's an Aussie. Aussies always come up with good comedians every so often. But
Bert Kreischer didn't have a good one. Razzle Dazzle I wasn't a fan of. The Machine I was happy with, but Razzle Dazzle wasn't great.
I didn't think it was anything of it at all. I thought it was rubbish.
Have you listened to Theo Von?
I think I know.
He's very Louisiana. He's tan, got a mullet. They call him the Rat.
Yeah. He does a bit of a redneck deal, but I don't think he does anymore. But it's from his early stuff, so he pretends to be a redneck sort of thing.
Oh no, he is a redneck.
No, I didn't think a lot of him. But that's maybe it's a bit too separate from our culture. I think you've got to be able to connect to the comedian. You've got to like the comedian.
Yeah.
And if it's too far, which is maybe why we get like New York comedians, but maybe we don't get more like Louisiana comedians, that sort of thing, because it's too foreign to us, maybe.
Makes sense. And that's where I would say comedy in the U.S. is not necessarily better, but it's more applicable to the world in that way, just because
it's
people
like I'm being a dick saying that our humor is better than yours. It's not. At the end of the day, we're all human beings, and we all find things funnier. We don't.
It's all subjective.
It has to be related to something you like. Like Michael McIntyre's jokes. I think he's the funniest comedian on the planet, but he's an observational comedian. So he would have to very heavily change his, and he's been very successful in America, but he has to very heavily change his comedy. I remember an Izzard joke, and he was saying how he was going into a thing, and over here, there's a big thing at petrol stations that there's always like barbecue stuff. They sell barbecue stuff. So like the bricks for barbecues and all that. You'd think having very flammable materials near a petrol station is not a particularly good idea, but they would have all the lighter fluids and everything at the petrol station. And he had a joke about it that included this buy-in things. But his joke was, well, I'm in America. Apparently that's not a thing in America. They don't do that. So you'd think I'd leave the joke out, wouldn't you? Nah, didn't. Left it in. Didn't give a shit. And that was sort of like the big punchline of that bit, that he'd left this stupid joke and that didn't translate to America. But it is important that the comedy's got to be relevant, or you don't get it. It's got to, you've got to be able to understand the humor, or you don't get it. And even in the UK, we get northern comedians and southern comedians.
Yeah.
That are very popular up north or not down south, and people just don't. Not all of them travel nationally well because we just don't get it.
Well, it gets so weird because there's regional comedy, and then I guess a lot of these comedians do try to like make it where let me make it where anybody can understand it from anywhere kind of deal. And a lot of the times deconstructing it that way makes it just less funny, and it's just more of I feel like international comedy tends to be more chuckle worthy than like belly laugh worthy. Which makes sense.
Like Lee Evans, it's quite physical humor and stuff like that. That translates, I think,
physical or family almost humor. Like Jeff Dunham works just because it kind of fits at any level, and you can kind of it's a caricature, and if you understand this one, you understand the next one. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
My Lee Evans joke was why do they always interview at the Olympics? They always interview the guy that come first, the guy that's come in all looking sexy and I want to interview the guy that come last, the guy at the back going 4 fucking years I trained for this, and he does that whole bit. It goes on for about 20 minutes. This joke, but that's basically the punchline. It's honestly, I'm not a big fan of Lee Evans, but that made my lungs hurt laughing at that. It was so.
I think I've seen
that's the sort of thing that would translate anyway. Reggie D. Hunter, Dave. I saw Reggie D. Hunter in Shrewsbury about a year and a half ago, and he wasn't very funny.
Damn.
He was very funny a few times, but generally, I've been looking forward to seeing Reggie D. Hunter for years because I've seen a couple of his lives and things, and he was really, really funny. It wasn't very good. He was all right. He was just all right, basically. I was really disappointed.
So I have 2 names for you.
Go on then.
Do you ever listen to Joey Diaz, Uncle Coco?
I didn't get him. Couldn't get it.
Really?
Didn't find it even remotely funny. I couldn't follow him.
What? Okay,
No.
okay. What about Tom Segura?
Don't know him off the top of my head.
He's best friends with Bert Kreischer. They do a couple different podcasts together, maybe just one, but they do a couple of different things together at least.
Segura.
Segura.
Oh, okay. I'm just thinking. I'm wondering if I recognize his face. No.
No. Watch a little bit with him because he's wittier than most, I would say, but like not in like a witty way.
Genre, it's come down as observational comedy, black comedy, sarcasm, insult comedy, and deadpan comedy. So,
Yes.
Other than the insult comedy, I hate that kind of thing. But that sounds like my kind of thing, to be honest. So I'll have to check them out.
So you don't like roast battles?
No, oh god, they're just pathetic. I've watched a few of them, and they either come across mean or just not fun. It's a bit like. I'm not a big fan of horror movies. I'm sure I've said this before. Generally, like if horror movies actually good, then it scares me.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be scared. But if it's not particularly scary, then what's the point of its existence? So I don't particularly like horror movies. Occasionally one will catch me, and I'm like, it's, when they're clever, I'm like, that's such a clever movie. Roast battles are kind of the same to me. It's kind of like if you're actually insulting somebody, it either gets a bit too close and you feel like, oh shit, that was mean, or the person doesn't mean it. So what's the point? They just come across as disingenuous and they're just not funny. I watched the Charlie Sheen one, and they were damn right mean. I did watch the Justin Bieber one though. That was funny.
The full like roast, the Comedy Central roast. Oh, those are cool. I love those.
But roasts, I've seen roast battles when they're basically, it was like rapping, but they're jokes. They've seen like a rap battle sort of thing, and it was the same thing. There's two comedians, and they basically just went at each other, and who could have the best insults sort of thing. And all the way through, I'm just thinking, this is just mean. It's just nasty. It's just like they're just like picking. It's like, but obviously they're not, because they're comedians. It's their job. They're not trying to be vicious.
I mean, but they are saying the meanest things possible. But in it's kind of like both of the things you said put together in a way. They don't mean anything they're saying, but they are finding the meanest things to say. It's just funny. I mean, it's deconstructing in a way.
I did my backing years ago, and over here we got a company that does stair lifts, and it's called Stena Stairlift, right? And I did my backing, so I couldn't get upstairs very well. They said I was walking upstairs like Teddy Ruxpin, right? So because I couldn't really bend my legs, so I was sort of like walking up like this sort of thing. When I came, my mates watched me go up to the stairs in the pub, and when I come back downstairs, they started calling me Stena for the rest of the night. That's mean, right? But it's my best mates, so it's okay. And I suppose that's the thing. But anybody watching that would just think they were being mean. They wouldn't think it was funny because there's no emotional connection to it, They would just be like, why are those lads picking on that other lad? And I'm short. I get constant short jokes, At my wedding, I stood up to do a speech, and all I heard was 3 people immediately go, stand up, we can't see you. As soon as I stood up, I was like, oh, fuck off. But they're my best mates, so that's what we do. There's that old joke in there. If you come across a friend unconscious on the floor, you'd phone 999 or 911 and get him help. And if you come across your best friend unconscious on the floor, you draw a penis on his face, then you phone 911. It's less like, because that's what best friends do. We're mean to each other.
Yes.
But it's not funny for other people to watch. It's funny for me because there's that emotional connection, and they're my best friends. And he'll say something about me, and then I'll take the piss back and think, but no, but I wouldn't have thought anybody else would find that funny. Maybe it works for celebrities because we think we have a connection to
that's what I was about to say. It might be a generational thing in a lot of ways too, just because like people my age, like literally everybody that's on there, whether we know them or not, you can literally Google their name in 3 seconds, have their Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all this. You have this information about them. You know that person now. You're in on the joke. It feels like you're in on the joke with roast stuff. And a good thing about roast that I really do like is that like it puts people out there one way or another. You're putting your flaws out there. People are calling out your flaws, and it tends to it can truly break some people, yes, but it can really make other people funnier. It helps them understand who they are as a person better. It helps the audience understand and kind of correlate and relate to people better. Yes, it is through a little bit of abrasiveness at times, but it's an enjoyable abrasiveness.
I think I do. I've watched a few, and I have enjoyed bits. I can't watch it for very long. I watched like 10 minutes of one, and then you think, I watched Will Ferrell. I can't remember who it was, but Will Ferrell did one, and I was just all the way through, just like, but he's got he did it in such a soft, gentle way, but the stuff he was saying was just horrific, and I was just like, but he did it, but the way he delivered it was just like, no, Will, something. And Will Ferrell, by the way, very good comedic actor, not funny in thing. He's not. But I couldn't watch it very long. But it's the same thing as like 20, 30 years ago, people watching Jerry Springer. And it's it's attracting and tickling the same part of your brain, I think. And again, I'd watch Jerry Springer and go, oh, I can't believe they said that. But then after about 5-10 minutes, I'm like, oh, this is shit, and I'll turn it off. Or I feel afterwards, I'm like, I can't believe I watched that crap. I feel the same about it.
I can't watch Jerry Springer, but I can watch roast battles all day.
Yeah.
All day. I love them. Jeff, speaking of the Kill Tony stuff, Jeff Ross, the guy that runs all the roast stuff for Comedy Central, and he's like roast master, all that yada yada. He was on Kill Tony yesterday, so I was cracking up. That was pretty fun.
I gotta go. It's getting late.
we are hitting at 2:30. What witty the most, but not in a witty way. That he doesn't come across as witty, but his words will eviscerate you nonetheless, and it's so great. Tom Segura cracks me up.
He's witty, but not in a witty way. He's funny, but not funny.
Well, he doesn't come across as funny because he talks like deadpan, and you're like, oh, this is just this big dude, that bald dude, beard, and he's just sitting here drinking a beer, just talking or something, and then he says the funniest thing that like actually like makes sense, and like it's not funny till it is funny, and then you're just dying, and it's great. But so, of course, the deadpan, he can set up things really well too, and it's good stuff.
I've got to go.
Yes, I'm not as well. Thank y'all for coming today. Real quick while you are here, I started doing this yesterday with Matt. Give people your socials. Tell people where to follow you. Obviously, that we know Sidetrack, but tell people
what my phone number. My phone number is 07. No, you can't have my socials. Follow me for Sidetrack. You can follow me on Facebook at Sidetrack, and I'm on Twitter at TV_Sci, I think it is. But anybody that's watching now has already followed me on things. So
this is more for the people later.
Yeah, but yeah, come on and come over to Sidetrack. You don't want to watch this crap. Watch me on Sidetrack. It's much better. I was going to do a video talking about San Diego Comic Con, but we've been talking so long now, I haven't got time to do it. So you're ruining my channel, damn it, Harris.
Oops. Harris. Hey, we deciphered comedy. We deciphered road trips and all kinds of different things.
Yeah. We had a whale of a time. And I'll just do it in the morning. It's fine. I'll pretend to work and do a video instead.
All right. Well, thank y'all for coming by. Come back to MCubed for more movie loving goodness. And we'll see y'all in the next one. Adios, y'all.
Bye.
Okay, it always takes a second to press this in broadcast.
I know it does, and then I forget